So, are we firing off? Are we?
I don't know yet.
You don't know? Okay.
I'm trying to see.
I see a button that's like.
Oh, so yes, we are.
Okay.
Now we're live.
Now we are live. So, what'd you think of the Super Bowl?
The Super Bowl. Oh wow, we're just gonna go. All right. Well, I thought that there was an amazing. I thought that I think they should do more football games before and after pretty cool rap concerts.
Okay.
The Super Bowl was exciting.
The Super Bowl was
First
all right.
one. It's been a while. But you really can't call it a Super Bowl without Tom Brady.
Yes, you can.
Yes.
Yes, because the good news is that we didn't have to worry about Tom Brady cheating. We just had to worry about inefficient referees who blew a call earlier in the game and felt the need to blow a call at the end of the game to somehow balance out the fact that their officiating was kind of off at that point. I don't know. How did you feel about the halftime show? I
loved it.
We tuned in right when the halftime show kicked off, and then we ended up watching the rest of the game, right?
Right.
And I gotta say, like, I'm slightly torn on it because one, I really liked seeing it, but two, it was like the safest performance you could possibly get out of those people.
Oh yeah,
And the biggest controversy is the white guy took a knee. And
so,
but overall, I thought the look was great, but I also thought it looked like trash because it was like everybody on the backside of the show didn't get anything.
And then if you watched a lot of the
50 blew himself up by hanging upside down for a minute and a half.
And then if you watched any of the TikToks or YouTubes, people said that the audio wasn't coming through the stands.
Huh.
So we got all the audio on TV. No, I definitely thought if you were on the backside,
yeah,
you were not on the hard cam, you didn't see half the
shit. I spent $30,000 for these tickets and I can't see jack squat. And everybody's like, well, there's big LED signs. Be like, if I wanted to watch the game on TV, I just would have stayed home and not spent $20,000 on front row seats.
I don't know it'd be the same as watching WrestleMania in that place. I mean, if you're sitting up there, you're seeing little white blobs.
Even when we're in the top, I mean, in an arena that big, yes. When you get into 100,000 capacity arenas, you're not going to see something from the nosebleed section, But I always try and look at the ring when we're in the arenas and stuff to see what I could watch. But
no, so speaking just because you brought up the white guy took a knee.
Yeah,
I did not at all. I saw that happen. I'm like, oh, you know what? We're talking West Coast, so he's just going to go ahead and bow out of it.
Yeah.
They also had just brought up something about Tupac, so I thought he was... And you know what? Here's the thing.
Okay.
White, black, whatever. He took a knee during a rap song. No problem. I don't care. You take as many knees as you want during as many hip-hop songs or country songs or rock songs.
I guess the other big controversy is that they caught Snoop backstage, hitting a spliff, and it's like... People are like, oh my God. And they're like... He's Snoop Dogg! What did you think he was going to do before he went on the Super Bowl?
I'm surprised that people were surprised about that.
Yeah, like, oh my God. People forget that Snoop was a fucking banger who killed somebody. Well, he was in the car when somebody got killed. Be like, oh, that's the dude who hangs out with Martha Stewart. No, it's Snoop Dogg! D-O-double-G! Not Road! Snoop!
So are we just now going to do a football show instead of a wrestling show?
Well, no, I mean, we got to recap the weekly thing. We got to give the audience a time to drop in. I see we've got some eyeballs coming in before we kick off, and we have to talk about something fun and positive before we talk about wrestling this week. I mean, again, what have we proven? We can't take a week off, because if we take a week off, everything just explodes.
Well, you see how small the sheet is.
I see you condensed it, but man, there has been so much stuff.
There's technically 3 pay-per-views we could have gone over. Sorry,
yes.
Premium events, but we're not going to go over Bound for Glory, or the Impact one, because we really didn't have
the
much.
Invasion one?
Yeah.
Is that the... Yeah, okay.
We all knew how it was going to end. So let's officially start the show. We went from 3 to 1.
Damn, yo. See, we stopped talking about football, and everybody quit as soon as they were like, and now the wrestling show. Everybody's like, I'm out.
All right, let's go ahead and...
All right.
Kevin's got a surprise for you.
Kevin always has a surprise each week. I love Surprise Kevin Week.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's edition of Powerbomb Weekly, brought to you in part this week by the brand new Michael Burdett Fan Club. That's right. For a small fee, you can join the Michael Burdett Fan Club. You'll also receive a pair of autographed boxers actually worn by Michael Burdett.
I have some
Let's
nice
talk about
ones.
tonight's show. Tonight, the guys break down Cody Rhodes leaving AEW. Is it real? Could he wind up in WWE? Or is this whole story just a word? Plus, they'll break down the results from NXT Vengeance Day and the WWE Elimination Chamber, featuring, yes, even more, Brock Lesnar. And finally, Joey explains what's really going on with YouTube. And now let's introduce to you your hosts. First, he's the only man on this show worthy of having a fan club. Ladies and gentlemen, he is the great, the immaculate Michael Burdett.
Mm-hmm.
And his co-host, he's the only man on the show that's worthy of having several restraining orders. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joey Marcello. And now, on with tonight's show.
I don't know why he hates me so much.
I don't know either, but I love it. And I love that he loves me so much because, Kevin, you are a wonderful human being. And
You've met once in real life.
No, we've met several times, me and Kevin, I believe, you know. And plus, there's something when, like, old spirits that are meant to somehow, like, in the past, we were like, you know, we were the Viking Raiders of the past, possibly, and, like, you know, we did our raids, or maybe, like, we were, like, samurai blood brothers sworn to vengeance over, like, the fallout of our village or something. Like, I feel that
you guys are more like
otherworldly passion with Kevin.
You're more like Drake Maverick and Killian Dane.
Which one of us is which, though? I mean, I guess he would be. Would he be Killian and would I be Drake, or?
You're more of a Viking then. He's more of a Drake Maverick.
He's more of a Drake Maverick. That's fair. Kevin is kind of a Drake Maverick guy. Yeah. Rockstar Spud.
All right, so we're going to start off.
We'd like to thank our sponsor, Starbucks, this evening.
No, we don't. So I'm not going to call this a change in format. It's just there's so much going on that we're going to kind of skip some things we normally would do. And we're just going to go straight to some meat and potatoes. All right. So the first thing that we're going to go into is what's going... Oh, so, yeah, sorry. He's going to curse.
I mean, I don't know. I'm disappointed in some things, but I don't know if
You've already cursed twice.
Have I?
Yes.
Thick.
So we're going to talk about how useless this screen is in just a moment. All right, so I promised... You
did
offline that I would have every show ready to go before we started the show tonight. Everything would be on YouTube. I have not been posting links. I've just been quietly in the background doing it. But if you're a fan, you know because you got a notification.
Which I did notice, by the way, comma. So for those of you who are a little bit unfamiliar, we haven't been uploading our shows into YouTube like we had in the past. There's just been some issues and things. Joseph is going to speak to those at length in just a moment. But I did notice that we had a lot more viewers on every individual video that you posted up, which is very cool. Thank you guys for following us onto the YouTube section for the Slightly Abridged show.
And I've noticed that if you type in Powerbomb Weekly into YouTube now, some other people's show up also.
Oh,
which it's not the name of their show; it's just their weekly segment or whatever. So it helps us because they see our show too.
Oh, good.
Yes. Yeah, thanks to that random coupling.
Yeah. So, do we need to file like patent copyright? No. Do we need to hire the WWE copyright pattern team so that way we can make sure that we are not labeled as Nazis or conflicting with any other group that may be out there?
So here we have some events that I've done and some events that are still pending. This is just a small sample. So
public, blocked, partially blocked. There's some other things I saw that were blocked.
Yeah, so copyright claim. So AEW is now blocking.
Okay.
So I went through and it's like trim out the parts you don't want. So I put hey, apologize for any quick cuts in the video. This is due to copyright violations. I wanted the video up, so it's gonna splice out the parts they don't want up. 2 days later, it still hadn't uploaded. Mm-hmm. So that's part of the delay. And so I'm going to try my best. I'm going to just try my best. If it uploads, it uploads. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So here's the here's the takeaway. If you want to see the raw, unadulterated, not trimmed for TV, you need to watch the Facebook Live.
Yeah, watch us live.
Or watch the replay on Facebook Live. But we'd rather you watch the Facebook Live because we'd love to have some interactions.
Yeah.
If you only want to watch it on YouTube, you're going to get a little bit of a shorter show or no show at all. Such as this one right here, which basically anything that we reviewed with MJF and CM Punk, not seeing it on YouTube.
Okay.
All of that greatness, all of Joey fawning all over.
So what you're saying is that because AEW has Punk, we are getting we're getting punked.
Apparently.
Okay.
And the only other video from WWE that's ever been... So we always get these partially blocks. We've known about these. That just means that, Afghanistan and Bosnia can't watch our show, and we're not really heartbroken over that.
I am horribly heartbroken.
Especially since whatever's going over there in that part of the world. They're not watching our show anyway. But the only time WWE has... Actually, it wasn't even WWE. The only time I've had WWE content get a blocked is... Remember when I showed you the YouTube... or the TikToks with Alexa Bliss?
Yes.
And she was doing All I Want for Christmas?
Uh-huh.
The Mariah Carey All I Want for Christmas is what blocked it. Which... Now, here's the thing. We watch YouTube videos all the time, and I watch Simon do Up Down on what do you call it? One of his show, and I've watched WrestleMania, I've watched Botchamania, I've watched all these shows that have these clips. I don't know how they do it. I'm going to keep working on it and studying it. But until this point, my point of it is, if you want to watch the show unadulterated, non-filtered, and all of the flip-ups and all of the videos, and I'll try to put less videos in it apparently, you got to watch it here on Facebook Live. Otherwise, if you want to go to YouTube and podcast it or whatever, you're not going to always get the whole show. But I have them all drafted, everything, including last 2 weeks ago show. These will start coming out rapid fire, and then I'll post and then from here on out, we'll post hey, this week's show is live, it's on the air. And I'm giving myself a by Tuesday from the Sunday before because it's not that difficult anymore.
Okay.
I've learned some tricks.
That's good. That's good. I mean, I guess the question is because same thing, as much as I hate the internet, I do find myself on it. And to kill time in the background, I always turn, usually wrestling things on or people talking. I've grown very fond of watching Marky D123 and his entire NWA TNA series that he's been doing where he recaps the old shows of yesteryear and the glory that was Vince Russo at this point in time. But I notice sometimes videos have very upfront things, and then sometimes the video is shrunk down and compressed to a corner, and then there's other things. So again, kind of like with you, I'm not seeing where the confliction is because we're not doing the intersplice cuts of videos anymore.
Right.
We're having it directly behind us, which almost is like a picture-in-picture quality, like Twitch streamers and things like that, dude.
Yep.
So, I don't know why we keep getting blocked and why our shows are being shut down. The only thing I can think of is that this is a grave injustice being held against us, the wonderful team of Powerbomb Weekly, because we bring you 100% unfiltered, perfectly crafted, researched news and very important points of opinion and views that you guys could only get here on the Facebook Live, and they are blocking us in order to silence our wonderful voices.
And I am working on making sure all of this in the background looks really, really good. So, Perry. What's up, Perry?
What's up, Perry? Our weekend is going well. Much like you, I have a 3-day weekend.
Yes.
I might have a 4-day weekend because I put in for Tuesday off because I didn't realize the holiday was Monday. So I was like, damn. And if I'd have called out Friday, I'd have 5 days off. And then I just wouldn't have gone back.
Right.
I'd be like, oh.
Probably.
Yeah.
All right. So while we were on hiatus, this big news story came out.
Whoa.
So a couple weeks ago, when Cody was doing his contract signing with Sammy Guevara for the TNT Championship, he said, hey, I got the contract in the mail and I signed it. It wasn't the contract I was hoping. And we all went, ha ha ha, tongue in cheek because your contract's up. Mm-hmm. Nobody expected this.
No.
Now, I will say this. Dad, 100% thinks it's work.
I don't think it is.
I don't either, but Dad is like, this is 100% of work. In 3 months, he's going to be back. Because here's his justification. There's two problems.
Okay.
They're still promoting the hell out of the Go Big show.
Mm-hmm.
And there is an actual article. It's not here, but what are they supposed to do with season 2 of?
Yes, I shared that article. So, for those of you who might be unfamiliar, Cody Rhodes also does. He does 2 shows on the TBS network. One is a reality show. What is it? Road to Cody or Cody and Brandy or whatever the hell it's called. I don't know. I don't watch it.
I don't either.
Wrestling reality TV is like.
He ripped off the Miz and Mrs.
Yeah, that's essentially what it is they wanted their own Miz and Mrs. And then he also does the Go Big, Go Home show. The only reason I care about that show is because it has the incredibly hot and beautiful Rosario Dawson on it.
I thought you were going to say Snoop Dogg.
No. But they've shot content for that show, and they're saying reports are coming out. They don't know what to do with the future of that show since he's no longer going to be featured on the weekly television show. And that's an interesting thing to have happen is what happens with content and Cody and all this stuff. And I mean, I have to assume that he probably has an AEW performer contract. He probably had an executive contract because he was the COO or whatever it was. And then
EVP.
Yeah, and then his wife had some kind of role. I don't know what it is. And then I assume he's got other contracts for the reality show and for the Go Big show. And that's what I thought what it was, is that Cody's often talked about leaving wrestling when he's like, 40, 45 or something like that. So I didn't figure this would be, this soon, but I wouldn't be shocked if he left. But I just figured he was going to go do more reality TV shit.
Yeah, Dad thinks he's just going to go do a movie and come back.
What movie?
I have no idea.
I mean,
the Marines
obviously,
15.
The biggest thing that's coming out of this is that today I saw an article that said Cody was in Orlando at the training center or near the training center prepping for his WWE WrestleMania comeback. I mean, here's the question I have though, because I want to play with that just for a minute.
So why don't we talk about why he left AEW first? Well, the reasons that we're hearing.
Okay, we'll do that.
So yes. We're hearing
about 30 different stories,
but they all kind of have the same flavor.
Cody lost power.
Cody
was unhappy.
His vision wasn't being fulfilled.
Yes.
It had nothing to do with the fallout. Wink, wink. And Tony Khan started paying a lot of money for people like Punk and Bryan.
Yeah.
And he's like, where's my money for Punk and Bryan? I'm an EVP. And Tony Khan's like, I'm not paying you their prices because you're not that popular.
Well, I mean, and that I think bleeds a little bit into where I was kind of going with that is, what value does Cody Rhodes have in WWE?
Oh,
they don't.
I'm going to. So MJF's got some thoughts.
Well, yes, but no. I mean, I really want to ask this question. Okay, is Cody Rhodes a threat to Roman Reigns?
No.
Is Cody Rhodes a threat to Bobby Lashley?
Absolutely not.
Is Cody Rhodes a threat to Brock Lesnar?
No.
Is Cody Rhodes a credible threat to even Seth Rollins?
No.
Possibly, just because of the styles.
You could make a match.
You could make a match out of it, but I mean, that doesn't really seem to jive very well.
He's not a Goldberg coming in.
No, and that's not to diminish that, but other than the fact of the WWE does not play towards the wrestling smarks, right?
No.
They're not going to hire Cody to say, ooh, we got Cody, the AEW guy, because they don't see AEW as a competition.
And they're not going to say, we got the AEW guy, because AEW is not allowed to be said.
And they're not going to say, Cody Rhodes, having left AEW, has now joined the WWE. They're not going to say anything of that. They're just going to say, as MJF said, welcome back, American Nightmare Stardust. Like, they're only going to want to address him, I would assume, as what they owned him as. And if Cody is trying to somehow negotiate he's the American Nightmare, he wants to do this for the legacy of Dusty and all this other stuff for it, then how long of legs is that going to give Cody Rhodes at a comeback before Vince is just like, nah, squirrel over here.
There's only one role. I thought long and hard about it. There's only one role that Cody Rhodes could serve in AEW and have any one value and be believable.
AEW or WWE?
WWE.
Okay, WWE.
There's only one role Cody Rhodes could serve in WWE and be somewhat successful, have a chance for success,
Okay.
and actually showcase his talent.
Okay.
NXT commissioner.
Again,
That's it.
I was about to go with that for a second, but it's like,
That's it.
do we... who has no power? I mean...
Do what they did to William Regal. That's
if
it.
he doesn't want to wrestle anymore, I could see that, but...
No, I know. That's the only believable
But that
role.
also goes into the thing of, realistically, how wrestling fans are. Cody walks out, he'll get a big pop, probably. Mm-hmm. And then 2-3 weeks later, he's just going to get booed. And they're just going to hate him, which is, like the AEW audience. They're just going to turn on him, and then we just have another heel commissioner. We have 5 heel commissioners across the whole show.
Yeah, I mean, because so who could Cody have a decent match with? Cody could have a decent match with Sami Zayn.
Let's be realistic. Cody could have a decent match with anybody on the roster. Cody is a good performer
With WWE booking style.
Yeah.
Okay. He could go with Sami Zayn. He could go with Drew Seth Rollins, but I don't think Seth would let that want that to happen.
No, probably not.
He could have a good match with AJ Styles again.
Yeah.
He could have decent matches with Cesaro.
Okay, well,
so
let's
basically
wait.
mid-level.
I was about to say, let's look at that for a second. Where does Cody go? Right back to the mid-card.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, Cody to WWE doesn't make sense for Cody's brand,
And then you had, so let's talk about Brandi, who's not going to come back to WWE.
Yes.
She's done. She's going to be a mama. But she was in the middle of a extremely annoying, unproductive storyline.
Yeah, where she was going to get punched out by Paige Van Zandt.
And so maybe that's why they left. She was supposed to have a match with her, wasn't she?
I thought that's where that was going, was that. But also, one of the things I found interesting that I have not seen is Dustin's thoughts.
Dustin has said, hey, you got to do what you got to do, but I ain't going nowhere.
Okay.
Good luck.
So how long does Dustin have to fight?
I think Dustin is in a perfect place. He's not trying to be a main eventer. He will go out there, he will have almost 90% of the time he'll go out there, have an amazing match, work his ass off, showcase the ability that he had, because he wrestles so much more like his father than Cody does.
Yeah.
And be happy either putting someone over or being part of the Nightmare Factory, where he's just like, hey, I'm here to train, I'm here to teach, I've done my time, I'm 40-something years old, I don't need...
He's way up over that.
I don't need to be a champion, I've never been a champion, I don't want to be a champion, my father was never a champion. Well...
I mean, he wasn't a WWE champion, but still, you get it. The thing with that is that the AEW as a brand is in a transitional period right now, okay? Where... And we talked about this before. We really talked about the, turning the corner, as I had with the AEW and the product that they were putting out, is they've really gone from this style, and we're at the edge, and we're coming around the bend here of this other style of product that they're trying to present, which is much more a traditional looking wrestling product.
Right.
We're not having that we had for a year and a half. We're getting a much more streamlined, we're getting a much more traditional looking product, we're getting bigger names coming into it, which
a little more consistency.
We'll talk about in a minute, but we're having a little bit more consistency. We're having visuals of one of the problems I had with AEW, and it's one of the things we liked, but it was one of the problems I had, is the roster expanded so fast, so rapidly, that we talked about matchups you don't get to see, or matchups you wouldn't normally see, which is the counter product to WWE. We're seeing the same thing constantly. We'll talk about that also when we get to Elimination Chamber. But I never could keep track of what the fuck was going on, because one week it would be like, this person would wrestle this guy, and they would have some kind of story. And then the next week, this guy would be wrestling somebody who had nothing to do with anything.
Well, so
and then the week after, the guy who that guy wrestled somehow beat that guy in that match, and then that guy had a match with another guy who didn't have anything to do with anything else. And they were constantly rotating and changing, which I get you're trying to figure that out. I think they should figure that out backstage and not present a television product like that, because it creates chaos, in my opinion, for the viewer. But now we're seeing a product where there's interchangeable parts.
Okay.
You know, we're seeing, and the best thing I can put with that is Hangman Page, okay?
Okay.
Hangman Page, we know, has Daniel Bryan.
Yes.
We know has Kenny in the wings, right? When he gets healthy. We saw the transitional match of the Murder Hawk, right? Mm-hmm. Now look who's coming up. We have Adam Cole, baby. We still have MJF in the wings.
Yeah.
We still have this. So we have our centerpiece, and we have the proper people around him that can all step up and filter in. And you also can deal with real-life factors of, oh shit, this guy got hurt. Slot this guy in. Okay, he's on the path to it. So we're seeing that play out much better and much more cohesive, I think, in AEW right now. And that's the thing with Cody that I don't think fit, is Cody wanted to wrestle everybody.
Right.
He wrestled Sammy, he wrestled Jericho, he wrestled this guy and that guy, he wrestled fucking Pretty Peter Avalon and whatever, right? And
Go.
Yeah, Anthony Ogogo and stuff. And it was like, Cody never had a direction that really translated well for his character and what he was trying to do. So I could see him saying, this is not my vision of what we talked about anymore, because it's not just guy versus guy. It's we're getting a nice path to people. Cody had no path left to work with anybody at that point.
Oh, no.
So if this is 100% legit and he is gone, which I don't think a major company would come out with a statement like this at this point.
No. It would be,
like I said, when you look at reality, you know, much like when Punk left the WWE and he was like, well, I'm going to go defend this belt in New Japan. Well, he said the name New Japan and Ring of Honor, but realistically we knew legally he couldn't do that.
Right.
Legally the WWE couldn't do that.
Right.
You know, there, as obviously AEW and them is different. I apologize if I'm in the weeds and I've been rambling for a minute, but when you look at WWE as a publicly traded company, they can't book legal-looking storylines anymore around that, you know?
Right.
You can't have them say, we're going to go do this, or we fired this person, or this guy is leaving the company, and then be like, your shareholder calls up and goes, hey, is that true? Oh, no, that's all just a storyline. Okay, because I just sold all of my stock, so now we're having problems, you know?
Right.
Yeah, so I think that's the thing with Cody, is I think he probably did dip. I don't know if he would have dipped on everything on the TBS as a brand, or one of the things is Kenny says that he's going overseas to Saudi Arabia or something to start a wrestling promotion over there.
I thought he was going to go show up at Elimination Chamber.
No, I think he was saying that he was going over there to... Did you just close the thing?
No.
Oh, you're opening a separate window. Okay.
See, we're still good.
Okay, all right, just making sure.
You just talk. I got this.
All right, you're doing that. I'm running out of gas here, man. I was really kind of leaning into you a little bit to be like, all right, Al, jump in.
All right, yeah. So, we'll see what happens. If Cody Rhodes... So here's my thought. If Cody Rhodes shows up at WrestleMania, he'll be gone by SummerSlam. Nope. He'll be gone by Survivor Series, for sure.
I mean, and the other thing with that is realistically...
He's not...
Vince is never going to give anybody the Bret Hart contract anymore of a 50-50 booking, okay? You're not going to get creative over your stuff.
Nope.
He might have a voice in creative. He might be involved in it. The only thing that I see if they have Cody come back and this is akin to what you were saying. He takes on the Hunter role. He has to become Hunter. He has to take over the brand. He has to be the creative force. He has to be the drive. See if Cody's vision for what wrestling is actually works. NXT 2.0 looks a lot more like AEW did a year and a half ago than AEW does now, in my opinion, where there's just stuff thrown against the wall to see if it sticks.
Yeah, we'll talk about
And that right there is kind of where Cody's wheelhouse is at. Is just throw it at the wall and see what sticks.
So, we'll move
To
on.
cap off, yeah.
To cap off, when you said that AEW started off the whole throwing it to make it stick, I think the thought process with them was, remember they were doing the rankings, so 25 would wrestle 24 to see who got to go to 23. And
Yes.
while it did make sense, they would talk about, rankings matter here, your
They
win
don't.
and loss records matter. And that's why you still see the win-loss record at the bottom. So that's why you saw these weird matches that didn't make sense. Like, when we get to Dynamite, I don't know for what reason Adam Cole wrestled number 10. There's no idea.
We'll talk about that in a minute because I have thoughts on that match specifically. But, again, watching other people's content or something, or seeing reviews for AEW, nobody knows or cares what the rankings are because we know this shit is made up. Tony Khan is giving you a ranking. But like TNA, we don't know what those standings are for.
Right.
We don't know what they mean.
Right.
They're like, oh, well, such and such is, for this season, is 12-0. Okay. Does that mean he has a title shot?
So MJF had some thoughts, and some of these were really golden. I couldn't
my God, pull the MJF, out of your mouth.
Cody Rhodes may be gone from AEW, but his neck tattoo still has 2 years left on its contract.
It's one of the worst tattoos, man.
Cody Rhodes is officially retired, and they're working at Walmart. Now stop making up bullshit rumors of where he'll be buried next.
As it will be for his next shift at the Walmart tonight.
Sorry. And as you mentioned here, Vince McMahon, forget the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, you'll now be known as the Galactic Nightmare, Goldust.
Stardust. Yes. I mean, the sad thing is I kind of liked that outfit.
Yeah.
This one, I was all on board with that.
And then, of course, grandson of a plumber.
Yeah. One of the things, I know we're going to deviate just for a second, but Dusty always believed this was a rib, and everybody said it was a rib on it for it, but I've heard other people talk about it. I think, this never bothered me.
It didn't bother me either.
It really didn't.
Him and Sapphire coming out together.
I mean, things that they did, yes. And yes, would I have liked to have seen Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream, baby, that was, in Florida and all that stuff? I would have loved to have seen that version of Dusty Rhodes, the son of a plumber, the cowboy, baby, but this didn't bother me because it did work.
Yeah.
To this day,
he was so over.
Yes, but to this day, when I think of Dusty Rhodes, I go, okay, yeah, I remember Dusty Rhodes, Bullwhoop, what is it, Texas Death Barn, bunkhouse match, the bunkhouse matches, but I remember those polka dots.
Yeah. And
to this day, I remember these polka dots.
Dancing, he made the best of it.
Yeah, absolutely, because Vince said he wanted him to have fun, and he couldn't present him as the Dusty Rhodes that everybody had seen for 20 years. He had to present him as something different, and I get that. And yeah, like I said, to this day, I remember Dusty Rhodes for the polka dots. That was on it. The number one or two thing I go is polka dots.
That was the only Cody Rhodes I knew, or Dusty Rhodes I knew, until I got older and could go back and watch older stuff.
Yeah.
The one meme I couldn't find, I should have saved it. It was a picture of Cody's belief, and it was him holding up the Universal Championship, and then next to Cody's reality, and it was him chasing the 24/7 with the rest of the group.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Again, though, if you're going to go get paid by Vince a boat ton of money, please, like I said on the last show with Matt Cordona, pay me $125,000 a year for 30 seconds of TV time to chase the 24/7 championship.
Yep.
I'll never have to take a bump. Same thing with Cody. He doesn't ever have to take a bump. He just has to run around the camera backstage for 30 seconds. Pay me.
So, it's an exciting time in 2022 for wrestling. March 3rd.
Yeah.
New episodes return. Now, if you have Access Channel, you could say, but Joey, but Mike, I'm seeing these shows on Access already. No, that's last year and 2 years ago.
Yes.
So I'm going to guess that March 3rd we're going to see Wrestle Kingdom from January.
Okay.
Because the way New Japan has worked typically in the U.S. is unless it's lot, you're always getting at least 2 days behind, sometimes a month. Because New Japan does their shows once a month, which is why it works.
Yes.
So we will be reviewing some of this stuff. I can't promise we'll review everything because of time.
We'll probably just review matches, and
there is no storyline. New Japan doesn't really do story.
Well, they do,
but they don't.
They do, but they don't. Yeah.
The story is told in the ring.
Yes.
And where it should be.
The other thing with that I just want to make a plea real quick is other parts of the world are still having some issues, okay? New Japan is having an issue right now where they basically have had to cancel a crap ton of shows because of COVID resurgence, restrictions, buildings being shut down, things like that going on with it. So they really, really kind of need this American TV deal to be successful for New Japan. So please, please watch New Japan if you want to see a exciting, new, fresh style of wrestling that you probably haven't seen. If you're not familiar with New Japan, you will see hard-hitting stuff. You will see a lot of great wrestling content coming out of New Japan. I highly recommend everybody check it out. And yes, please check them out because this American TV deal really needs to be good for them and profitable.
You will see things that go, I think, how is he still alive? How did that not kill him?
If you miss reality in your wrestling, you will definitely see this in New Japan. Not to say that they don't make mistakes too, because everybody does, but nothing can be perfect. Also, you will probably get a chance to see, in my opinion, one of the best wrestlers in the world working right now, and probably one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, Okada. If you don't know who he is and you haven't got to see an Okada match, take your time out after the show and go watch an Okada match, and you will see exactly what I'm talking about. And you would see what, if Vince was ever going to have an Asian champion, it should be Okada.
2 recommendations would be, believe it or not, Okada versus Jericho, or the best match I've ever seen in my life was Okada versus Kenny Omega.
Okada versus Will Ospreay. Okada versus
Naito. Oh, that's it. Yeah, Okada versus Naito. The next year was even better.
Yeah, I would say go watch Okada and Naito. That's good. And I'm still
Naito would be the second best wrestler in New Japan.
I am still pouring through whatever random New Japan Asian wrestling match I saw 10 years ago that was the greatest match I've ever seen in my life, and I will find that for you guys, I promise.
And we did talk about this on our Facebook page, but so a couple of weeks ago we said that not Kenny King, but John Grisham was going to start his own wrestling promotion, and then nothing really happened from it. They're saying we have a TV deal.
Imminent. A TV deal is imminent.
And this is the first place that Killer Cross is going to wrestle.
Yes, it is. Cross and them and Scarlett had already posted that. I find it interesting, Moose, Matt Seidel, and a couple of these are supposed to be added. But yes, for those of you who don't remember, this is the Human Man Beast, Mr. Braun Strowman, Adam Shear. And this is Ethan Carter III, EC3. And they have teamed up, and they will be apparently producing a new wrestling show called Control Your Narrative.
About four months ago, or sometime next week, we posted a video on YouTube, our YouTube page, if it didn't get cut, of EC3 being one of the best producers of a little 5-minute skit, if you will, a promo.
Yeah,
he's been all about since he left WWE. He's been about free the narrative. He took it to Ring of Honor for a short time. He took it to Impact for a short time. He's like, I don't want restrictions. I want to just go out there, entertain people, and go home. Politics be damned.
Yeah. So this will be really interesting. I find it strange, though, that you would announce that you have an imminent TV deal without actually announcing a television deal. You know, that seems like a weird announcement for me. I really hope that this is legit and they do get this off the ground and that they are successful, because I believe the more people watching wrestling and wrestling content that's available is great, okay? Because Vince just isn't cutting it on his own anymore, okay? You know, he had 10 years basically on his own, and we got what we got at this point. But I find the announcement odd.
It is. It's very odd, but it's exciting, hopefully. All right, so this is the part where the show's going to change up a little bit. We're just going to talk about AEW first, and then we're going to talk about WWE. So we're going to kind of skip story time, if you will. We're not actually going to talk about Raw or SmackDown unless there's a quick thing you need to...
bastard!
Unless
there are two major things that we have to talk about.
Unless there are a couple things from Raw and SmackDown that need to be led up before we get to...
Elimination Chamber?
Elimination Chamber.
Okay, fine. Then I will pocket in my memory the two things that need to be talked about.
So, again...
And you know what makes me super sad is I had to watch this crap and this crap. I skipped this crap, but I did watch the cut, chopped up segment that happened on this show for it. So if I would have known I didn't have to watch this...
Oh, no, we have to watch this. We're talking about Vengeance.
Oh, no, we didn't have to watch that, because that shit sucked.
Oh, we did. All right, so last couple of weeks in AEW, this is kind of what the big things are. Punk versus MJF will be a dog collar match.
Who gives a shit?
Really? I thought it was a good. It was a decent promo. I like
promo, fine, but
you don't think that? Is MJF going to win this one too?
No, Punk will win this one.
You think?
Punk has to win this one. MJF can't beat him 5 times in a row. This will be the brutal match. Because, I mean, here's the thing on a booking standpoint. Punk pushes for the match against MJF, and he interferes in his matches, and then he gets the match made, and then he loses 2 of the 3 things, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, that's all visual and out there for it. If Punk once again gets to call him out and pick the place, and pick the match, and pick the steps, and he loses again, it makes him look like a joke. So Punk has to win this one.
So the only way Punk wins this is if Wardlow turns.
I don't give a fuck about Wardlow.
I know you don't.
I don't care about Wardlow anymore, okay? And I like Wardlow, don't get me wrong. I like seeing him. I think it's great. But this whole will he, won't he thing, I don't care anymore. I don't care.
Well, if MJF loses to Punk, he's going to have to go on to something else.
He's getting to the point... Wardlow is like the Usos at this point for MJF, where it's just like, oh, well, of course Wardlow got involved.
Yeah. All I'm going to say is, here's why I think MJF will win.
Okay.
How long did... this? I realize that by saying this, when I say it out loud, how stupid it sounds, but... How long did the NWO go on a winning streak before they finally lost a match? The villains just kept winning and kept winning and kept winning and kept winning.
Are we talking about winning, or do we have to go into the caveats of the NWO was about to be beat and then 50 guys ran down and the match got thrown out and they got disqualified? Because technically, Diamond Dallas Page won all of those matches via disqualification. He just got his ass kicked at the end of it.
I agree.
And that's the thing with this involvement with Wardlow that you're talking about and everything with it, is that if Punk loses this match, he looks like a fucking goof. And there's no point moving forward. None at all. You have this so you can have what is essentially the rubber match. And then Punk can be beat by MJF. MJF can go on to greener pastures, and Punk can be like, "Hey, the kid got me," Unless they do not plan to follow this up at all, which why would you not want to follow this up? The other problem I have with this is, as I spoke about earlier, I've seen a lot of bad dog collar matches in my time, and the C4 exploding death match and some of the other gimmick matches that they have, I am deathly afraid that we're going to see some TNA-style dog collar matches where the guys are going to shoot a guy off and then the dog collar is going to snap off and then they're just going to say, fucking stop working with the dog collar.
Or, the dog just defecates on the side of the road.
Yeah, something like that,
All right, so we're going to
but we have not seen a dog collar match in how long?
Since Brody Lee and Cody Rhodes was the
Okay.
one and only other match.
Okay, so it's been at least a year. That's good. That's good.
All right, Paige versus Paige is coming.
Okay.
Thoughts?
What are your thoughts?
Well, the cowboy versus dad bod.
You say Paige versus Paige, though.
Adam Page versus... Oh, I'm sorry. It's Adam versus Adam. I screwed that. Oh, I screwed this up.
That's why I was like looking at him like
Adam versus Adam.
Paige. I was like, yes, it's Adam versus Adam. So,
Sorry, the cowboy versus the dad bod. Yes,
as
please.
I said,
Go ahead.
as I said, fuck everyone for shaming Adam Cole's body, okay? And I know that sounds weird because we've talked about other people's bodies and how they look out of shape. And yes, Adam Cole does look a little thick around the midsection, okay? But if you're going to go high on one road, you got to do it to the other guy too. And yeah, here's... With him, is he still not having great matches?
Yes, I
Is
know.
he still not
teasing.
doing everything that he possibly could do? I'm glad that this is happening. Are we going to talk about the him versus 10 match just for a second?
Sure.
Okay.
But before we do, I was really annoyed about Adam Page. I was annoyed very much with Adam Page because he did it again. He did the whole, I'm on my own, I'm calling you out, Page, I'm blah, 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 blah. And then Cole called out Page.
Yeah.
They had their little, rah, rah, rah. And I'm like, all right, cool. This is the Adam Cole we need. This is the Adam Cole we need. And then 5 seconds later, they have this stupid behind-the-scenes match with the Young Bucks and Red Dragon again. Granted, it was to set up the Young Bucks versus Red Dragon, and he was in the middle. But I'm getting tired of that. Anyway, so now...
I can't say I'm getting tired of that because that is the story that we all want to see. And again, when we talk about that, it's so Adam Cole is in the middle being the ringleader, and then the Bucks are on one side and Red Dragon's on the other side, and they have their little tippy-tat about the upcoming tournament, and Red Dragon's basically like, well, maybe you'll win, maybe you won't, maybe Red Dragon will win, and then they kind of are like, sure, whatever, and then the Bucks walk off one way, and then Red Dragon walks off the other, and Cole's stuck in the middle, and he's like, damn it, hey,
Shut the camera off,
shut the
Brand!
camera off, which is fine. I mean, again, it's the story we see coming, but it is the story that we all want. I hope they don't, do WCW, and this is all just a big swerve for everybody in the audience, and they've all been planning this dissension image the entire time. Hold on. But I agree with you. Adam Cole is supposed to be a serious ass kicker now, coming for the World Championship. He's still in the back doing comedy.
Yeah.
And then there's the comedy that took place in the match with 10, which bugged the crap out of me.
So
and on that point
it didn't
of the
record
match,
for me, so I didn't get to see it.
okay, and on that part of the match, I wish you had seen it, okay? It wasn't long, all right? It was a couple minutes, all right?
It was exactly...
But Adam Cole is supposed to be challenging Paige for the championship, right?
9 minutes, 52 seconds.
He can't beat 10.
We beat him.
No, that's what I'm saying. But 10-minute match. Why did 10 have to have a 10? Also, the ending of the match sees him in the Master Lock. And Cole's fading. And he can't get out. So he runs and pins the female referee, which I'm going to talk about in a second, up against the apron. Okay? Mm-hmm. Up against the post. And while he's there, he low blows 10 in the back with the up kick, kick to the crotch, right? And 10's selling his balls, and he falls in the middle of the ring, and then Cole pulls the knee pad down and does the, Shining Wizard on him, right? Mm-hmm. He can't beat 10 on his own without cheating. And now he's a threat to the World Championship? He should have killed this guy in 2 minutes. WWE that shit. 1, 2, 3, get out of there. Sunset flip, roll up, kick him in the head, super kick, be done. The other thing I want to talk about is this, okay? Was this Aubrey?
Aubrey.
Was it Aubrey in there? Okay. I fucking am over her, okay?
I love her.
I'm over her. And this is why I'm over her, okay? One, also when we talk about Vengeance Day and the other things, I I know this sounds cornetish, and I don't mind the girls being in male matches, and I'm glad to a point they're doing the reverse where some of the males referees are refereeing the female matches. I'm glad that we're having an interspliceness, okay? But you cannot tell me that that little girl is going to enforce Wardlow versus Brian Cage. Okay? And this is the other thing. She clearly wanted to fuck Adam Cole. Because every single thing that Adam Cole did in this match, this girl's facials were, if Cole smacked him, she was like, oh! And doing that nonstop for everything Adam Cole did.
Okay.
And it was just so distracting.
Okay. Yeah, she can be a little over sometimes.
She was so overacting it and so overplaying it.
I got
and again, Cole grabbed her, pinned her up against the ring apron.
That's a disqualification.
Yeah.
Hands on
the ref. And then low blowed 10, and all of a sudden 10's in the middle of the ring grabbing his balls, and she's like, I don't know what happened. Like,
Okay. I can do that.
Dominance makes people look over who are challenging for world championships against cowboy shit.
Okay. Nobody cares if the inner circle's over.
Fuck this. Fuck Jericho. Fuck the inner circle. Fuck every single one of these people that are in it. I'm sick of it. I'm tired of it being on television. I don't care. Take your Sons of Anarchy knockoff jackets, wad them up, tear them up, shove them up your ass, shit them out, set them on fire. Go to your cruise and drink your mimosas, you fat canned piece of ham motherfucker. I know what I just said about body shaming people, but my God, I fucking hate Chris Jericho now. I'm sick of him talking. I'm sick of him on fucking commentary. I can't stand his voice. And I love Chris Jericho. You have been one of my favorite wrestlers for 25 years, dude. Fuck off with this bullshit.
So you appreciated what Sammy said then?
Fuck Sammy.
No, Sammy's like, you figure it out. I got shit to do.
Yeah. I'm sorry. These guys, done. Sick of it.
All right. So the first match was Daniel Bryanson and Lee Moriarty, 12-minute match. Dave gave it 4 stars. It was a pretty amazing match. I don't know why I put Sammy versus Darby. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. That's the match at the end. So Daniel Bryanson and Lee Moriarty. Bryanson made Lee Moriarty look amazing. I thought it was a great match. It was a great start. Again,
it was good.
AEW has a great job of making the first match and the last match amazing, and you got to suffer through the stuff in the middle usually.
Except for match 4 too.
Right. Yeah. So Wardlow versus Max Caster. It went 5 minutes too long.
Warlord.
Again, we already discussed how we're not going to talk about the next match. So then, Thunder Rosa versus Mercedes Martinez.
There you go, hon.
A no disqualification match. Oh, wow. They just beat the crap out of each other.
So, we haven't talked much about her on the channel, and it's not for lack of not noticing, but can I just say, I love Thunder Rosa.
Yes, she's amazing.
I picked her to win the championship. I did not know that they were going to get a storyline out of the disqualification with Mercedes Martinez and put Thunder Rosa over here, but I have loved Thunder Rosa for Lucha Underground, for going back to, what was it, AAA that she was in. Mm-hmm. I think she has an incredibly unique look. She's 1,000% believable in what she does. She's also a wonderful fucking human being. For those of you who don't know, her name comes from one of the child protective centers I believe she worked at, or was in the area in which she lived. Okay? She was a former counselor for at-risk youth, okay? Or people that had been abused and children that needed help, okay? She finally made enough money off of wrestling after being inspired to be a wrestler on the encouragement of her family and husband, and decided to be a real professional wrestler and be paid full-time for this. She's a wonderful human being. She's an amazing talent. She's got a great look. And they had a fucking great match. And she's a tough bitch. I love Thunder Rosa.
Yes, she... And at the end of the match, She's going face because the whole story is that she was hired by Britt Baker. Mercedes Martinez was hired by Britt Baker to take out Thunder Rosa. Thunder Rosa won the match as she should have.
Yes.
Mercedes Martinez, who's always been a tough bitch, was like, "You got me, girl."
That was the thing at the end I didn't like.
And then, but I agree they didn't have to do the handshake, but I think that they were just two proud Latino women who put out an amazing match.
That was such an issue with like the ROH kind of indie style stuff that I've always had a problem with. And going back and referencing Punk, so Punk did a shoot interview where he talked about. I don't remember who it was he talked about, but basically he said the guy was a great worker and they wanted to have this match, and he's like, I want to do this spot where like I kick you in the balls and then I shake your hand. And Punk's like, I'm not shaking your fucking hand, you just kicked me in the balls, dude. Like, That's the dumbest thing ever. And that's kind of what I felt like this was it was like, I don't mind it after a certain period of time, but I don't like we're going to beat the fuck out of each other with lead pipes and steel chairs and chains and brass knuckles and all this stuff, and then I'm going to shake your hand. Even if I'm the one who got my ass kicked, or I'm the one who, like, it works if Thunder Rosa's like, hey, are we cool?
That's what happened.
And, like, that's what I said. It kind of works, but at the same time, if I'm the guy who just got my ass beat, I'm not going to be like, no, I'm not going to shake your hand.
Like, so... The other thing that was in the news a lot was Thunder Rosa wrestled at a indie show against Ember Moon. Well, I don't remember Ember Moon's new name is. But before the match even started, some asshole racists were being racist, doing racist things, and Thunder Rosa stopped the match before it even started and had them removed, chided them, yelled at them, told them to go away.
Probably could have kicked their ass again.
Absolutely could have. Absolutely. And then... it kind of takes the air out because then they had to have this real match. After, she defended, it was just like...
Yeah. I mean,
it had to happen. I wish people wouldn't be assholes.
I don't know. Anyway, the point that we're getting at is the end of the match. They do their handshake and everything, and then Dr. Britt Baker and everybody comes down and they beat the crap out of him on the ground.
So it's going to be... It's going to be...
I don't know. And also, I get that it's been Mercedes' shtick, but I didn't like the fact that the NXT shtick of people paying her to beat people up kind of crossed over into the AEW thing. Because that's what she was doing in NXT, especially the last little bit, where people from, the Robert Stone brand was paying her to beat up their competition. Like, I get that's, like I said, I get it's her shtick. I didn't like that it carried over.
So...
there's only one thing I want to talk about with the ending, okay?
Okay.
The final match. And this is the only thing I give a damn about. And I tried to understand it, and I had people explain this to me, okay? But I don't like it. Andrade. What does he have? A contract or whatever the fuck it is? His pencil box or his lunch pail that his mommy packed for him, whatever it is.
That was an iPad.
Steel. Okay, so he had a fucking iPad, right? He gets involved, and he hits Sammy. And I'm like, okay. Now, keep in mind, this is because he's got his whole thing of, I'm going to control destiny and blah, 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 right? So he hits Sammy. And then he comes back and hits Darby. I'm like, what is this fucking guy doing? He hits Darby. Darby is completely knocked out, unconscious, on the top rope, and then Sammy's like, okay, Darby's laying here on the rope. I guess I'm going to put him in a move and pin him. 1, 2, 3. And then... the other guys come back, and then Sting's walking around on the outside, and I'm like, what is Sting doing? And then finally, Sting gets the baseball bat, and he gets in, and he chases off all the bad guys who beat up both Sammy and them, and all this hoo-ha that's going on, right? Match was fine. It did not need all this jazzed-up, dressy crap like that. I don't understand Andrade's character. I've never understood him and what people see in him as a talent. I don't think he's that interesting. He's pretty fucking bland and boring, to be perfectly honest. And I don't get why he had to hit everybody with everything that he possibly could hit everybody with just so the old bastard Sting at 65 years old could chase everybody off with a baseball bat. Explain this to me.
Okay. First of all, I wrote down Sammy versus Darby, instant classic. I am getting tired of that term. This is an instant classic.
Is it? Who was the instant classic?
I don't know.
Who was that guy?
But I wish it would go away.
The instant classic. Fuck, who was that?
I wish it would go away. I'm tired of instant classics. It's one thing when Pat McAfee says future Hall of Famer because he does apparently Pat McAfee just says future Hall of Famer to troll Vince McMahon now.
Yes.
But
that
instant classic.
was that Eric Watts? Instant classic Eric Watts?
I don't know. All right, so here is the story as presented by AEW. Escobar Light. So Andrade and Escobar, they are so interchangeable at this point. Except for the fact that it wasn't one company, one's in the other. So they basically replaced Andrade with Escobar, and it's the same character. So Andrade wants Darby Allin in his faction.
It's Christian Cage.
Was it?
Yeah, instant classic. Christian. I forgot that that's what he wrestled as, I believe, in TNA.
Oh.
Sorry, guys. It was bugging the crap out of me. Anyway, back to this.
Andrade wants to own Darby. He wants Darby to be his wrestler under his stable, under the house of...
Again, somebody tried to explain this to me, and I don't understand it. Why?
So because...
Shouldn't he want Sammy? Because they're both Latino?
No! He wants Darby because he feels that Darby... This is the long-term storyline, I guess. He knows he can't beat Darby, so he wants Darby on his team.
So he's inept. You have a guy who just laid out both people who's so afraid of a guy who's 125 pounds.
It's like it's the same thing when he wanted Pac. And he couldn't get Pac. So apparently, some wrestlers are belt collectors. Apparently Andrade is a human trafficker now.
Whatever. Moving on.
Well,
Wardlow turn, we talked about this.
There's going to be a new member of House of Black.
Yes.
You saw him in the background, but not really.
You know, this is something that was interesting because over the weekend I was thinking this, right? And I was really... One thing that's very interesting is the production value for the vignettes featuring anything House of Black or what they're involved with Penta and everything else that they're doing where he dug up the old mask and everything like that is so spectacular looking.
It's like Blumhouse is producing
beautiful. Yeah, exactly. It's beautiful. It looks spooky. I'm not going to say it doesn't look hokey because it does, because whenever, as I said, when we first started talking about Malachi coming in, it was like, yeah, it's kind of spooky and hokey, and it kind of takes a little bit of suspension of disbelief of like, but he doesn't have magic powers. He just projects things in a way, right? And they're just presenting things. As he said, it's a good horror movie. But the other thing that you have to look at is when these fuckers get in the ring, it is a amazing 3.5, 4-star match every time.
They deliver.
Every time they deliver. And that was the thing that I thought, I was like, if I got picked up by Vince and had an idea or something, I'd say, you know what we need? You know who's your biggest success story that everybody loves right now is Taker. We need an Undertaker. We don't need the Undertaker dying and going to heaven and coming down with fucking bat wings and all this other stuff like that. We need somebody who can be dark, credible, believable, who can have a little air of mysticism about it, that can speak in, parables or whatever it is, but can be that menacing force that is believable.
It may get loud in here in a minute.
Sounds like somebody let the smoke detector off.
Yep.
But that, and I was like, oh, that's right, they had Alistair and they cut him.
Yeah. They
could have had Brody King, but they didn't go for him.
No.
So that's why I love this. And if like I said, if I had to pitch something to Vince, it would be like, we don't have Taker, we don't have Bray, everything's bright and shiny on the show. We don't have anything that has an air of darkness and black around it. You've got to have some kind of dark to balance out your brightness, and that is perfect. I love everything they do with it.
And when the figure stood in the background, my first thought was, wow, that looks like EC3's build. But we know it's not going to be EC3. We all know who it's going to be.
We know exactly who it is because they've already confirmed it, as far as I understand. I don't know if they've confirmed
They have not confirmed it,
but I do believe
Meltzer
that
has confirmed it.
It's going to be Buddy Murphy.
Yes, Buddy Lee, Buddy, whatever his new name is.
Don't call me Buddy Guy.
But I will tell you that they could not have picked a better, because if you want to watch some really, really, really good wrestling, go back to NXT and watch.
Did I share the article about his comments that came from Roman?
Yes.
Okay. So there's an article on our page right now featuring Buddy Murphy where he talks about the fact that Roman Reigns specifically picked him and said, "This is a guy I will make." They had their match on SmackDown, which is a great match. And he goes back to Vince and says, "There, I just made you a new star."
And Vince goes.
And Vince buried him.
Yeah.
And had him banging a 16-year-old Mysterio girl.
And then the last thing we're going to talk about AEW, we talked about the Moxley match, or we talked about the Daniel Bryanson match. But Moxley came out and he's like, "Hey," Bryan's like, "Hey, I didn't ask for an answer, but I want an answer now. We deserve an answer." And Moxley came out in true Moxley fashion and said, "I don't partner with people I haven't bled with."
We got 1 fucking week of this guy not doing stupid crap. I love you, John. I love you. As I've talked about, I'm tired of the garbage matches. I'm sick of them, okay? Because you can do better. We got 1 week of this guy having a legit wrestling match with selling, with story, with emotion behind it. I know Bryan is going to pull out all the stops for this, and I expect this to be a great match, okay?
But it was last week that we got the match.
We got 1 week of this guy not crowd brawling and throwing trash cans at people. I would have liked at least 2 weeks.
We might. Well, he didn't wrestle this week, so we got 2 weeks.
2 appearances. How about that?
Okay.
Two matches. I wanted 2 matches of this guy that did not have... He's getting to be like...
Nick Gage.
No.
Yes.
Yes. No. He's not getting... Yes, because him and Nick are but he's getting to be like, look, John is not Steve Austin, okay?
Right.
You can't brawl in the crowd every match, all right?
Yeah.
You're getting to be that style of it's just like, it's not shocking anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping that this actually is the reverse, and my hope is that Bryan just grounds him the whole match, keeps it in the ring, and just grounds him with submission, technical wrestling and stuff. And then maybe in the last minute, we get outside brawling and blood or something like that would be great. Because if this match starts, and honestly, like 30 seconds into it, Mox rolls out of the ring and starts throwing trash cans and chairs and stuff around, I'm just going to turn it off. Because I'm just done with seeing him do this shit.
So, any last minute before we move on to the bad stuff?
Still, the best fucking wrestling coming out this week at all was AEW. Despite the negatives that I highlighted on some of these slides for it.
It can't all be great.
This will be a good match. They don't screw it up at the end. This is wrong, but that'll be a great match. This was great. This was a good match. That was cool. This is great. And this will probably be great. So look at this. We just discussed the negatives, but the positives far, far outweigh the negative of the show.
And we haven't had Hook for 3 weeks.
No, Hook was there last week, wasn't he?
He didn't wrestle.
No, Hook wrestled last week, didn't he?
All right. Anyway. All right, so.
Dear God.
All right.
Dear God.
So before we say anything, I just want to say, whoever produced the intro to Vengeance Day, that was a masterpiece. Oh, could we get more of that, please?
Okay. So, do we have a slide or anything for that?
Nope.
Okay. All it was the girls in bikinis
texting each other
about stuff. This was
the dumbest
awful
thing ever.
It was so bad. It was so overproduced. It was so terrible. And once again, it just goes to show that whoever is shooting this, probably Pritchard, is just in the back, just wanking it to Mandy Rose and the girls, okay? They looked like hooers, and I'm not shaming. I'm just saying they were presented as bitchy hooers. That's all they were presented as. They were texting. Our pop-up window texts were appearing.
You're going to be able to see it.
That's just bright glow.
Yep. My God, the NXT intro was fucking a crime against humanity. That's what he texted me when he finished watching it.
Yes. When we were talking about the show, it was just like, it was a fucking crime against humanity.
It was horrible.
It was.
And like I think Juicy JC or whatever was like, I want Graham Grimes to take me to the moon, and everyone's like, what?
Yeah.
It was.
Tony D started texting her because he's thirsty, and she's like, ugh, whatever, you know? And then it was uncool. It was so uncool.
It was.
And this is the thing. Again, I'm not trying to double back. They're beautiful girls. Be beautiful. I don't have an issue with that. In fact, I don't have an issue with you having less clothes on in a certain manner. But produce them better. If you're going to have TNA, not the company, but the actual TNA on there, at least produce it better where they come off. Ugh.
So we're going to talk about the matches, and then at the end we'll talk about what happened between the matches, because I have it all written out.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah.
Pete Dunne versus Tony D'Angelo were the weaponized steel cage match because somebody watched TNA back in the day. This sucked. Sucked beyond suck. The last 30 seconds of this turned out to be really good. I hated everything about this.
I did not think there was a chance in hell Pete Dunne was going to win this match. And he did.
Well, he had to.
No, because you could send Pete Dunne away.
Who in the fuck is this guy? You're telling me this guy is going to beat the Bruiserweight?
I thought that's what was going to happen. Yes.
Oh my God.
It went off the rails when they zip tied his wrist shut. I was like,
Yes.
oh. This was the match Moxley wanted against Brock Lesnar but couldn't have.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't even that brutal for what they were doing, but this was just a dumb match with dumb spots.
They didn't even get blood, did they?
No, because you can't get juice on WWE. There's no juice. It's a weaponized cage match. They used a bunch of weapons. A toolbox was involved that clearly had like a cushion pad taped into it and like finger holes cut out that you could see where they did a spot where a guy got his hand stomped on it. I love Pete, but I'm sick of this joint manipulation in every single match thing that he does. At one point, he put a wrench around Tony's finger and snapped his finger back, but then his hand worked completely fine 10 seconds later. Like, the match was dumb. The spots were dumb. The last 30 seconds got really good. And then it was over. And I'm sorry. I don't care who your family is who sits in the front row that cheers for this guy. This guy sucks. He's not over. He's just
Rank it.
a 1.
1? Okay.
This was a 1.
I gave it a 2 because I did like Pete Dunne in some spots, but yeah, it was not. It was
When they zip-tied his hands, I actually went, ooh, this could be interesting. And then when he put him in a sleeper, he put him in he put him in the guillotine. Sorry, I had to remember what position they were in. And then because he was being choked with the guillotine, Tony D'Angelo cut the bonds off of his hands.
I was wondering how they were going to get out of it. I'm like, how do you get out of zip tying?
I honestly thought Dune was just going to step over and fight him like this, which would have been more interesting. But no, they had to get him out of the zip ties, so Tony D, who put him in the zip ties, de-zip tied him. So they could have more spots in the match. Stupid fucking match.
Alright.
Stupid fucking match. This match sucked. This girl sucks. This girl's good, but she's stuck in a bad place. This girl is
Okay.
okay. This girl is okay.
She's learned how to keep her mouth shut.
Kind of. And then the whole point of all of this is that she might have once fucked Poker Room Duke in his poker room, and now she's fucking Poker Room Duke's psychopath who shaves his head every week guy, and then they might be screwing these guys over because she's too distracted by being in love with Dexter Lumis for them to win the championships. And then these two people retained, and this sucked. 1 star.
I gave it a 1.5.
That's... ugh.
Alright. And now, in my honest opinion, the match of the night. So, I have to ask you, before we talk about this match.
Okay.
you were, and I may have asked this question before, and I may ask this question every time because I keep forgetting how damn good Cameron Grimes can be.
Yeah.
Was Trevor Lee ever this good?
Yeah, Trevor was good.
Okay.
When Trevor showed up,
So
he was basically introduced.
He was Trevor Lee, the bionic redneck in Impact. TNA.
When they gave him the character, it was bad, but him as a performer was fine.
Okay.
I remember the first night he showed up at the last. Was it Slammiversary, the last TNA show before they got kicked off the air for TNA?
Yeah.
For Spike or whatever, and everybody left that night because Nick Aldis left, James Storm left, everybody left that night, right? Because their contracts were up. And I remember they had this big gauntlet match, I want to say, where he showed up, and I went, okay, this kid's good. My wife, for the first time, got to see him do the standing Spanish fly in the middle of the ring, and she was like, holy shit!
Yeah.
She was like, hold on, back this up, because I was distracted doing something, and she was like, you have to see what this guy just did. Great, this is my wife, right? So I'm like, back it up. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's the standing Spanish fly. It's like, he's awesome at that. And she's like, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. And D'Angelo, this match, I hated this match in the sense that I believed Grimes was going to win.
Wasn't that good, though, for this
Oh
match?
my God. I was like, this match put me through emotion. This match made me love wrestling. It made me go, oh, NXT can do something right. I could give two shits about his sidekick because he's an idiot, and he's become a worthless addition.
Yeah.
But, my God, this match was amazing. I give this match 4 stars. It was, and maybe because I compared to everything else that was crap on this show, but this match, Cameron Grimes is the only bright spot in NXT anymore, I feel like.
Yeah.
So,
that's better.
Your thoughts?
You said them. This was great. Honestly, I think the tag match that came after was better than this.
Okay.
But this was, I give this at least a good 3-star match.
Okay. Dave gave it 3.5. Just FYI.
Okay, well,
I mean,
No.
Dave. It's the only match Dave.
this was a damn good match. You said everything that I needed to say.
Made me believe. It made me. I thought. Because walking in the matches, there's no way Cameron Grimes gets this match. No way Cameron Grimes gets this belt from the A champ. They've promoted the young guys.
Yeah.
And I was like,
The thing that I liked was there was enough to come back to this, but they also gave it a finalization too. So if they don't want to come back to this, they don't have to.
right.
This was great. Loved everything about this. This was also great. I loved everything about this. I do think that the wrong guys won, though.
Okay.
I really liked this match.
I gave it 3 stars. I thought it was a great. It was a good match. It was a tag match. It was.
I'll give it 3.5.
Okay.
I liked this match a lot. I thought that they did a lot of stuff that worked really well. I thought everything looked good. I'm glad that the Creeds won, but I really think that they should have two-peated because I don't think they've done a two-peat Dusty Cup winner yet. And these guys... And again, go back a year ago. I didn't mind some of the things that MSK did. I thought some of the spots they did were stupid, and I thought their presentation was bad. This guy got rid of the skinny fat, so he apparently stopped going to the same restaurant that Adam Cole eats at, which I assume is the Olive Garden where they shot the Undisputed Era fist bumping each other at the closed down Olive Garden. And he is looking more like his body, which is good. They stopped doing that stupid backflip cartwheel in the middle of the ring spot, which was good. And then
I think he's starting to watch Trey Miguel over at Impact and seeing what Trey Miguel's doing and kind of.
Hi, hon. We just went over Carmelo and the match that you really enjoyed.
I'm not sold on these two yet. They're the bland boys.
That's the problem. They're very bland looking.
They're the bland boys, and no matter what Mr. Bivens tries to do, no matter how black, skinny, Dusty Rhodes he tries to make himself, I just don't buy it.
I don't know.
Just don't. Anyway, and then we're getting through this a whole lot quicker than I thought we would.
Well, she likes Mello.
And then,
Oh, wow, yeah.
Mello.
Yes.
And then the main event.
She said that Mello she might like Mello more than Roman now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So, we're going to talk about the in-betweens after the matches. Braun Breaker versus Santo Escobar.
I don't know how. I mean,
I expected more.
I expected more. This was a fine match, but it was a match that had a storyline that didn't need to have storyline stuff in it. It just built to more. The most interesting things that happened in this match happened outside the ring.
Right.
And that was unfortunate. This was Braun's first title defense. He should have looked
way better.
I'm not saying that he needed to beat him in 30 seconds, because that should not have happened, because somebody has to have a challenger, at least a consistent challenger for a while, and no one on any of the WWE shows has a challenger, okay? But I expected more out of this, and
I'm not a fan of Escobar. I've never been shy about that.
Yeah.
But I've seen him do way better matches.
I thought he was better in this match. The problem with this match is it was built around Braun overcoming the odds to retain, essentially. And they should have just had a great match with him looking dominant. And that's not the way they went. They went the wrong way in this match. Braun took a lot of the beatdown during this match. Escobar did a lot of stalling to brag, which didn't really suit the way that he had been talking about how he was going to approach this match. Right. And like I said, everything built to the storyline that happened at the end of the match, and that hurt Braun's look, in my opinion. And it definitely did, because if you go back and listen to this match, half the crowd is chanting, "Let's go Breaker," and the other half is chanting, "Let's go Santos."
Yes.
And that is great video audio, but that is bad for your brand new champion. No one should be chanting for the heel because he's doing good. You should always be chanting for the babyface champion.
Yeah. Unless it's two super very popular AJ Cena type of thing.
Even then, yes, Cena was always going to split the audience no matter who he wrestled, but go back and look. How many people up until it became known, you never saw people cheer for Ric Flair.
No, but okay, let's go back here. Let's go Mello to the moon. Let's go Mello to the moon.
That is a problem, though.
There are a lot of people like your wife. Yeah, put him back on the screen for you.
Yep, there you go.
You know, she's like, moon, Mello.
Yeah.
And some of us are like, this guy's, so yeah. All right, so anyway, I gave this match 2.5 stars. What did you give it? Because I am trying this from the remember.
2.5. Yeah, I'll say 2.5.
All right, so
it was a fine match, but it was nothing spectacular.
And this was a free TV type of show because I don't think they're going to do a takeover because nobody gives a damn. But so here's what the rest of the stuff. Okay, it's not going to show up as good as I hoped. Anyway, so we're going to throw random women together for a tournament. That's all they did.
Also, Io Shirai needs a partner. Zoe Stark found her a partner in Kaylee Ray. Zoe likes Io. Sorry, Zoe wants to be friends with Io. Io likes Kaylee because Kaylee just stares backstage and breaks things with a baseball bat. Fucking stupid.
Sleepy Time is now going to tag with Dakota Kai, who now talks to herself.
Oh, no!
She has an imaginary
friend. She talks
to
someone else. She talks to the air.
She has an imaginary friend.
I hate Dakota Kai. I hate her. If I had to pick one person to exercise from the business, it would be Dakota Kai.
No, it's fine. It's okay. We're fine. We're gonna like, oh, so gotta have a montage because they did so many montages. Fake cops.
Stupidest fucking storyline ever. Stupidest storyline ever.
If you're gonna have a fake cop, at least put a fake badge on him. And not be the same guy who was security 2 shows ago.
So just to recap for those of you who don't normally watch the show, and I don't blame you for stopping to watch NXT, Grayson Waller announced last week that he was going to have LA Knight arrested this week for assault that he did last week. And then cops show up who aren't real cops, who are fake cops in fake cop uniforms show up. And then LA Knight comes out and cuts a promo that says that he has been served papers to be arrested This is not how this works in reality, folks. And then he says that Grayson Waller's video evidence of him beating up Grayson Waller doesn't count because the court order restraining thing that he got served with says that if Grayson Waller touches him, it invalidates it. Grayson Waller's confused.
That's how it works in Australia.
LA Knight throws it to the truck, so the truck will play video evidence of Grayson Waller jumping LA Knight 2 weeks ago. So the cops just leave, which then allows LA Knight to beat up Grayson Waller. So now this coming week, we will have Grayson Waller versus LA Knight. You're fucking killing LA Knight.
So, apparently, the NXT cops are like Judge Dredd, where they can go ahead and pass judgment. Because they've reviewed, they were the judge and the jury. And
execute them both. Just execute them both. I am the law! I love that movie, you know? I watch, every time that movie's on, I watch it. I love the Judge Dredd movie.
I'm kind of like that way with Pitch Perfect. Indy versus Persia is coming, as you kind of already referenced.
Who gives a fuck?
The crowd still wants Walter, and so does Uso.
Yes. So, this was the backfire of all backfires. Because what did I say? That crowd is not going to chant Gunter. By the way, Gunter got on the mic and told the ring announcer that his name is not Gunter, it's Gunther. Because I believe that is the proper German pronunciation for it. Okay?
And the crowd says...
Walter! And then, for some reason, Sikoa Kai, who is one of the Usos' brother cousins, decides to come out. And this is the same guy who last week couldn't beat Boa because his face got melted off. Literally, his face fell off into the crowd at one point. And he's like, on the island, we beat people up for fights, so I'm going to come fight you, Walter. And Walter
and
goes,
the crowd's chanting,
Uso!
Uso! So,
how do you fucking kill talent, Joseph? This right here is how. This is how you kill talent.
And I love how Wade Barrett's trying his best. These stupid... They don't even understand what his name is. Did they not get the memo?
Hated. Why'd you kill Walter? Why did you have to kill Walter?
And
also, why is this guy not with the Usos? Just put him with the Usos.
And then we've got Ciampa versus Ziggler coming.
Don't care. Ziggler cut a promo in the back that I have no clue what he talked about at all. None whatsoever. And then I remember this is why you don't put a mic in front of Dolph Ziggler, because he can't talk.
So,
do you understand anything that he said?
Anything. I understood what he was saying.
I mean, the words that he spoke were articulate, but do you understand the context of what he said?
Yes.
He said that he came to Florida and that other people came to Florida, but then he rode in a plane, and they probably also rode in a plane, but they had to ride in coach, and he rode in first class because they don't have the money to pay for first class, but he has the money, but if he wanted to sit in coach, he could have sat in coach, but he chose not to. What in the fuck are you doing in the building to wrestle?
Okay, so,
I don't care how you got to the building.
So, basically, I'll break it down for you.
Why is he here?
3 weeks ago. Remember when we reported a couple weeks ago that Ciampa and Dune were doing dark matches on Raw and SmackDown? So, Ciampa is walking through the backstage, probably after his dark match, and they brought a camera across, and Dolph Ziggler's like, "What are you doing here? This is Friday night. You work Tuesday." No, you asked. I'm telling you, You work Tuesday nights. Maybe I need to go down to Tuesday nights and show you how it's done. Ciampa said, "Bring it."
No.
And what Ziggler is saying is, I came down here because I wanted to, because I have the money, because I get Big Show money while you're on NXT money.
And why could he not say those phrases?
Because he
literally cut an Ultimate Warrior promo where I didn't understand what the fuck he was talking about. Every time Ziggler speaks, he kills the atmosphere.
Okay, rank the show.
It's fucking 1.
You can give the show a 1.
The show, well, no, I'll give it a 2. I'll give it a 2. Because Carmelo Hayes and Cameron Grimes had a fucking great match. The tag team match was really decent. and the ending match was not spectacular, but it was a passable. That was pass. But if I'm ranking the show
Overall, the entire show.
all of the in-between stuff was terrible, so I'm going to give it a 2.
I'm giving it a 1.5.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So now. No, wrong one. All right. So let's talk about all the things that led up to Elimination Chamber that you wanted to talk about before we break down Elimination Chamber.
There's only 2 things that I wanted to talk about that came. Well, 3 things. There's 3 things from Elimination Chamber that I feel that we have to talk about. Okay.
Before Elimination Chamber.
Before Elimination Chamber, okay? And since you were nice and didn't give me a flow sheet for it, I
did.
For Raw, I don't have Raw or SmackDown.
You're right, we don't.
So that way, we're just going to talk about it because I don't have the sequence of how everything went. But we're going to start with Raw. Did they figure out how to unfuck Rhea Ripley finally?
Are you asking
Did
me?
you watch Raw?
Yes.
Do you remember Raw?
Kinda.
Okay.
She beat
4 out of.
Yeah.
Beat 3
so
out of 5 people.
The Elimination Chamber match. Yeah, she should have won.
So, Rhea Ripley, who has been dead and buried for months now,
yes, now I remember.
has a match, and she starts off. It's a gauntlet match, okay? Now, gauntlet matches have been hit or miss, okay? Rhea starts off with her nemesis, Nikki Ass. I'm so tired of this. I hate this girl.
But she beats her.
I hate her. She beat her. Here's the problem, though. I felt so bad for Rhea because I don't ever see Rhea fuck up. She fucked up and dropped her.
Yeah.
Plain as day dropped her.
Yeah.
I felt so bad for Rhea. And she also messed up again, and I believe dropped somebody else later on. Probably because she was tired, okay? But she beats Nikki Ass. She beats Doudrop. She beats Liv Morgan.
Yes.
She looks good doing it.
Yes.
And then, of course, a fresh Bianca Belair comes out. They have their thing.
I looked at Dad. And I said, "Who's going to win this?" And he looks at me and goes, "It all depends. Is Vince McMahon feeling Bianca Belair this week?"
Yeah. Apparently he was. So, Bianca wins, which makes sense, okay? Personally, because of what we got at the Elimination Chamber, I probably would have had Rhea run the gauntlet and win.
I would agree.
Because that would have satisfied
the ending of the match.
The ending of the Elimination Chamber match, in my opinion.
Yes, the same person should not have won both.
But Rhea looked great. She looked amazing. She looked on top again. I hope that they have decided to unfuck Rhea Ripley. Because also, the crowd was so behind Rhea Ripley more than anyone else.
Yes, I agree.
Okay.
Number 2.
What was number 2? What else happened on the show?
A lot of nothing.
What else happened on that show? What was the other thing?
Miz?
Fuck Miz. No. This was all building to Elimination Chamber. There was only 2 things that happened on Raw. Fuck it.
Becky Lynch and Lita.
No.
Brock Lesnar, the Austin Theory match, or Austin Theory versus Seth Rollins.
That was last week, wasn't it?
I got nothing.
Whatever. Okay. Apparently it wasn't important enough. Maybe when we talk about Elimination Chamber, I'll remember it at this point, okay? And then let's skate over to SmackDown real quick, just so that way we can get this through, because this does affect the Elimination Chamber. They have a contract signing promo where Ronda Rousey is going to be forced to wrestle with one arm tied behind her back, because Sonya Deville's arm is still messed up from when Rousey put her in the armbar for it. And they had a botch in the segment.
Because it was filmed.
This was a preemptive filmed thing, and they botched it and screwed it up so bad that the WWE had to edit the footage into choppy, bad footage in order to air for Friday Night SmackDown, because the girls screwed up so bad. Surprisingly,
they did a good job.
Charlotte Flair, apparently, the video is out there. It's on our page of the uncut section of this from the people who were at the crowd in SmackDown. And I agree. Did Charlotte just not care?
That was going to be my question. So is Charlotte just like, I'm just not going to sell for Rousey because I don't like Rousey. Just like I didn't like this person, so I didn't sell for that person. Is she just being so diva that she's trying to get fired?
Or is this like super meta and that's what they want her to be, is to screw things up, that it has to come out that they have to do this? Or either that or she's just like
trying to get fired?
Maybe. I don't know.
Because they're not going to fire her.
No, they're not going to fire her.
And they're not going to keep her off air because Fox is like,
Charlotte Flair.
You're keeping Flair on
We
there.
like Charlotte Flair. That was the other thing I was going to talk about on Monday Night Raw that affects the Elimination Chamber. Alexa Bliss is cured, but she's not. But she is. So, did you watch this segment?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I did. I'm sorry that I did.
I want to get through this quickly, but can we just spend a couple seconds
Absolutely.
dissecting the fact that, one, we
can spend as much time on Alexa Bliss as we want because I don't mind.
We can spend as much time with Alexa Bliss as we want. She is so is so cute in person. Okay, so one, we have a therapy session over the last couple weeks.
Therapy.
Okay? I don't ever remember a therapist saying, let's film this for television.
Right, well, no, yeah.
Except for Dr. Drew, okay?
Right, okay.
But the therapist wants to cure her and has her basically realize that she has created a delusional personality, and Lily is the focal point of her delusion, so she has to acknowledge that Lily isn't real.
Right.
He then gives her Lily back.
Well, that I believe that every therapist in the world just went, why would you regress her? That's not how therapy works.
She's better.
That's not how therapy works.
She doesn't look like the Crow anymore. She looks more like Goddess Bliss with a mixture of her other character mixed in, right? But why is the therapist getting so much screen time and dialogue? Why is the therapist clearly manipulating, I would assume, Alexa Bliss at some point? Why is the therapist becoming important to the storyline of Alexa Bliss's health? And I will say this, okay? As much as I think this man is a dumbass, I did read Vince Russo's article concerning this matter. And I have to 1000% agree with him. They made a fuck ton of Lily dolls. And they were probably waiting. They sold out in like 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. And they probably rush ordered a new batch, right? And they probably have another 20,000 Lily dolls sitting around the warehouse right now. They probably want to move the Lily dolls. That's the only reason I can think that this is happening, is because they want to push the doll.
Okay, Mike.
Yes.
You're addicted to pops. I know that this Mick Foley pop is the root of all your evil. This was the first pop you ever had. This pop represents all pops, and you have an addiction to it. You spend way too much money on it. Do you understand that this is evil?
Yes.
Okay, here. Take that home.
Thank you.
To remind you on how evil it is.
I'm cured.
That's how much sense that made.
0 cents.
It's like, I didn't want to use the whole, hey, I know you're addicted to drugs, so here's a heroin needle for you to take home with you.
No, I get it. The pop was good. Yes, it was a symbolism. But anyway, the reason that I go into length about this is because...
You wanted to say Vince Russo was right about something?
No. In the midst of this, after they wrap everything up, Alexa's just like, hee, I'm cured. I'm going to be returning this week. What should I do? Oh, that's right. There's a spot in the Elimination Chamber. Guess I'm in it. And then they have a graphic that shows Alexa Bliss, and they're like, breaking news, Alexa Bliss has just been added to the Elimination Chamber match. Don't we have to qualify for things?
No! Now, did you watch?
I'm being serious. Can I not just announce myself that I will headline WrestleMania and it just happens? Because I said so?
Only if you make the sign go catch on fire.
Moving on.
So, last thing before we actually get to Elimination Chamber. Did you watch Brock Lesnar on Pat McAfee?
I did want to talk about this. I was actually going to send you notes on this about Brock appearing on Pat McAfee. I did watch it, yes.
So, do you want to talk about that a little bit in length next week?
Yeah, we'll talk about Brock's sit down. The only thing I will say for that is that somehow Okay, now I have watched Brock Lesnar for 20 plus years, okay? I've watched him as an NCAA wrestler. The dude is a prick, okay? I'm sorry. He's a prick, all right? But somehow, he was the most engaging, interesting, likable version of himself that I have ever seen.
Yeah. Okay,
And every time he spoke, I was like, okay,
All right.
I get this guy.
So
I get where he's at.
So next week we're gonna talk a little more about that. Then okay, I wanted to see if that was
If they needed Brock Lesnar to be a face, Pat McAfee got the job done because he made Brock Lesnar seem like a relatable human being who spoke at length about his career, his issues, his defining moments. He made him look like $1 million.
And we'll spend about 15 minutes on that next week.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna start
with the pre-show of the match that no one cares about, where the Miz lost to Rey Mysterio. I didn't see it either. Don't care. Hate them all. Fire them all. Future endeavor. Budget cuts. Don't care. Miz sucks. Maurice sucks. Mysterio suck. Get them gone. Negative 4,000 stars.
Not even ranking it.
Okay. Roman Reigns, our champion, defeats Goldberg via sub in 6 minutes. They screw the finish up.
So, did you not say that Goldberg can't go more than 8 minutes? Was it? Did you say 8 minutes 2 weeks ago?
No, what I said is Goldberg can't walk. And what I said is Brock probably has it in his contract that he won't wrestle longer than 12 to 15 minutes.
Okay, it was Brock.
Okay. So, one, Goldberg looks so fucking old. So old. Goldberg is so old that if you notice, his skin had been cracking from being dried out from the desert heat or bed sores or something. He had an open wound on his shoulder. His head started bleeding, and I didn't see him get hit at all.
No, I was wondering.
He had blood coming off of his elbow. His calf was bleeding from sores.
I was wondering if you would. Yeah,
no, I totally saw it. He's so fucking old that his skin was breaking apart because it was so tense and tight and dry there, okay? This did fuck all nothing for Roman. They fucked up the finish for it. It made Goldberg look 1,000 years old. And what I said when this match started, because everybody was watching it, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody in the house was sitting there and they're like, that's odd. This is going on first. And I'm like, well, it probably has to go on first because the longer Goldberg sits in this building, the more he's going to knock himself unconscious with. And also, Roman probably wants to get the fuck out of here and realizes what's going to happen at the end of everything. And what I said was when they played, and I'm going to talk about this in a minute, when they played the video package where he said he's going to Goldberg, and Goldberg was like, I don't think so, kid. I said, I hope to God this man comes out and he spears Goldberg and he Superman punches him, and I hope he fucking power bombs him 1, 2, 3 in 30 seconds and then get the fuck out of this, right? It still went for 6 minutes, but that's basically what Roman did. I don't ever want to see Goldberg wrestle again. It fucking sucks.
The Saudis love him.
Yes, but when they asked me, when the people in the house asked me, why is he still doing stuff? I was like, because they want to pay to see him. And they went, why? And I said, because they thought Andre the Giant was still alive and could wrestle Hogan and Yokozuna, because they don't know. Because I'm sorry, as much money's over there, it is a third world country. They don't have exposure to American television on a consistent basis. So they don't know. They know Goldberg, though, because he is an international celebrity to them.
Did they happen to mention what the temperature was in Jeddah last?
I don't. Probably 1,000 degrees. It was probably as hot as the sun is right now.
We'll look what the temperature in Jeddah is.
So while he's looking this up, I do want to talk a little bit about the aesthetic of the show, because I'm going to go ahead and reveal the fact that I didn't hate Elimination Chamber as much as I've hated the other Blood Money shows in the past. I also did not hate the look of it. I did not hate... The thing that I found interesting, that as we've talked about, the crowd has definitely changed, diversified. And from going from the original...
it's a huge...
Everything from... You know, as we talked about culture-wise, the first show was for the princes and all the people and the, millionaires and all billionaires that live over there, right? And then they've let more people in, and they've let the more common people and things like that in. So we saw a lot of mix of people in the audience. I saw some white people who were not stagehands over there, okay? I saw a mixture of people. I saw kids, unlike the last show at Crown Jewel, that the entire arena was full of nothing but children who couldn't care less about the wrestling show, and that made me super aggravated. but I saw kids, I saw adults, I saw females, I saw everything in this crowd. The crowd was there, and that made me feel good to see a mixture of the culture of these people there. And I thought, you know, if that's what the WWE is presenting to the world that they're trying to do, if they're trying to unite this culture and present them in a light and have the, you know, international American side traveling circus come over here and give them some kind of entertainment hope, I saw that in this show. I mean that sincerely, and I hope that this is what it looks like going forward, and I hope some good does come out of it, because they had a lot of women matches on this show, and I was shocked at that, okay?
So
this was great for it. The only thing, hold on, comma, I'm going to say for this, and I want to put this out there for my wife, to the WWE, you have got to chill the fuck out with your strobe lights and your smokes and everything like that you did for your new arena setup, okay? My wife has epilepsy-induced seizures, okay? That show was so bright and so flashy and so color palette changing the entire time that she had to cover her face up. She had to leave the room at times to come back. I had to tell her when she could come back in to watch some of the matches and stuff. You have got to tone it the fuck down with that stuff.
It was 75 degrees.
Goldberg probably still felt like he was, you know, somewhere on Mercury.
So I gave it a 2.
This was a fucking 1-star match.
1.
This sucked.
I
did nothing for anyone.
The only reason I gave it a 2 is because the things that Roman did were good. But yeah, that chokeout was like, they
pointed out, Goldberg made it to the ropes because he couldn't fucking carry Roman's weight. Maybe not, probably legitimately.
Like, I just couldn't. I was like, that was such an odd, like, why wouldn't he have just gotten, like, punched and knocked out? Why did we have to
That's all I wanted. If this had to fire off and it was going to be first, I legitimately just wanted to see Roman Reigns come out and just spear him, Superman punch,
I hated the choke
1, 2, 3. He didn't need to choke him out and submit him. He should have beat him 1,000% dominantly as the tribal chief should be, okay? Moving on. Fuck Goldberg.
So, I want to talk about the beginning of this match first, before we get into the match itself.
Okay.
They did it during the men's also. Why? I understand why. But why? Okay, I understand that she was the big celebrity. She was the big hot ticket. They announced her last.
Mm-hmm.
Well, her hung around inside the chamber waiting for her to get here so that she could put herself in a pod.
They did it in the men's match too. Don't understand why.
Why? And then, second of all, why did she have a swing that we never went back to?
You got me. We all said the same
No,
thing
I
at the
mean,
house.
I'm like... I'm
That
not,
she couldn't swing in because she's in a pod?
Now, I will say that...
Because Alexa's cured. Remember, Alexa is cured. She's still doing the same shit in the same outfit with the same stuff. I expected her at one point to have magical powers in the show. I expect her to somehow have evil spirit magic.
Now, I'm going to say that for the 5 women, because they're in Saudi Arabia, they had to dress differently than they normally do. So I want to address that just for a minute also, because there's really not else to talk about with this match. She looked normal, the way she always looks. She didn't even have to change her altar.
She had sleeves.
Yeah.
She had sleeves. She had sleeves.
Hold on. Okay, so these two, perfect, fine,
Yeah.
whatever. She was in all red. No, was she in red? No.
Yes, she was in red
Which
because,
looked-
as we found out, thank you, Sean, for pointing this out, she just looked like Britney Spears did in the Oops, I Did It Again video.
Oh.
She was in a red leather, straight-down outfit, and she had her hair even styled the same. She looked like Britney Spears.
Okay, all right, that makes sense now.
There you go.
Bianca looked good.
Bianca looked like Bianca again. She just had she had sleeves on.
Now let's talk about the 2 other ones.
One, fuck yes.
She looked like Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman.
Yes, she did. Okay, I'm going to say this. I don't like her, okay? But this, and if we're even being real, this is not my target demographic for what I find. They all looked hot as shit.
No, I disagree 100%.
She looked fucking gorgeous in that outfit. And
You thought so?
I thought she looked great. She looked better in the full bodysuit than I think she does when she's in the singlets.
Really?
Yes.
I thought she looked like Nia Jax.
I thought she looked beautiful.
It was because it wasn't.
I thought her. I'm going top down to the bottom.
She was dressed like
exactly, Sean.
Her hair looked good. I thought the color of her stuff with the shininess with the
Really?
everything. I even like, the shirt, how they had it cut around her suit and everything. I thought she looked better than she normally does in the singlet.
Interesting. I thought the opposite. As someone demographic wise, I thought she looked.
Maybe it's the plaid. Maybe it's because her regular outfit is plaid and that one was.
I don't know.
Had the reflective.
Because I saw that on the side, it was just kind of like loose and fitting in some places. I was like, oh, they put her in Nia Jax outfit.
I don't know. I liked it.
So now the match itself.
Match was garbage. Match was pretty garbage. It was pretty butt.
They were like, okay, they're like, okay, we're gonna give all the spots to the men this show. Because they got no spots.
The cage came into very, very little play. I think she got put in the cage wall, and I think she got put in the cage wall. I thought she legitimately got hurt at one point, but she kind of walked it off, son. And then, yeah, that was it. I know the idea is if you're going to have a spot at the top later on in a show, especially if you're in the same area, you want to save that for the later thing, and we'll talk about the big spot in the men's match in a minute. I thought for certain somebody was going to at least try and do a dive off of the top of the chamber.
I thought she was twisted blissing it off.
I thought so too. Your PC battery's running low.
Oh, well, let me go ahead and fix that.
Yes, but overall, this was a basic match. The chamber had very, very little play into it, and much like the men's match, this is what happened. Their storyline continued. She beats her. She gets out. And then she beats her, I think. And then she gets out. And this is about how quick this is going. And then she beat her, and then she's out. And then she beat her, and then she's out. And then they have a thing. And then she beat her, and she's gone. And then she beat her, and she's gone. That is like legit how fast that went. It was next person eliminated, next person eliminated, next person eliminated.
So this was a 15-minute match. Every match on this show was quick. There was no long match.
There was no long match.
It's a 15-minute match, and if you guess, there's supposed to be 2 minutes between pods opening, which is not the case. 2, 4, 6, 8 minutes of the match is just waiting for the next person to come out.
And they had nothing.
And then they had 7 minutes left of the match.
Yeah, which means somebody got eliminated every, 40 seconds? Until they had their spot involving her. She had so much personality when she had her up in the air for the suplex and her skirt fell into her face and she pulled it up and winked at Bianca and then dropped it back down on her face and then did the suplex. She looked great. They looked great. These two together are money. Everybody on this that stops right here is good. This person can go away.
Don't forget they called the inside of the
They scaled the inside of the cage. Yes, they did.
The cool part is they did this where they did it, and they had this many people involved. That's
Overall, the success story is that we have 6,
7, 8,
7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We had 12 women wrestle on the Saudi show
with a female referee.
Female referees. Yes.
All right, so rank the match.
2.
2.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it 2.5, just a little better because there were some good spots, but.
Like I said,
so for me,
the
standard match is a 3-star match for me. A standard match. It wasn't a standard match. It was less than, but there was.
Yeah, the cage. The cage had no purpose. Most of the stuff. The only thing I hope is that this storyline between these two women get resolved because I'm tired of seeing Nikki Ass and Rhea Ripley against each other. I'm happy she's back, but she didn't have much to do.
I
in the
thought
match.
she was going to be Bayley.
Yeah. She didn't have much to do in the match, and then realistically, the cool thing was these two together, but they kind of made a statement that at this point, Bianca's always going to go over Rhea. And at that point, why don't you just flip Rhea heel?
Okay. Now, for all the aesthetic pleasingness that was in the
Keep
elimination match,
Keep in mind, we just had a female match followed by a second female match. Odd placement of the show to have this back-to-back, okay?
and of all the female aesthetics that we had in the last match, so she had sleeves, normal. Skip. She had sleeves, kind of glammed out. She looked like a dominatrix with sleeves.
She looked like she always looks, okay? Ronda Rousey
looked like she looked like she was in her bathrobe. She didn't even do her hair. She didn't do her makeup. She was in a freaking bathrobe. It was not a gi.
She was in a gi.
No, she was in a bathrobe.
Now, I had to talk about this. Judo gis are heavier and thicker than normal karate gis.
Okay, fine.
The announce team claimed that this was the same judo gi that she was in when she won the bronze at the Olympics. I don't think that's true because Ronda was 14 years younger at that point.
I will go upstairs and get my wife's bathrobe that she got at Bed Bath & Beyond, and it looks the same.
So, again, judo gis are heavier and thicker than normal karate gis. Okay? So, she wrestled in her gi. My wife actually enjoyed that she did not put all the makeup on because she was meant to be serious. The other girl, I looked and I was like, do the girls not have makeup on? Is that part of the culture thing here? And then I was like, well, no, wait, because Liv had the teardrops on. And then I was like, wait, no, Rhea had all the stuff on. And then I realized, no, Ronda's the only one who doesn't have it. But again, see my joke that I have made for a while now? She just looks like the lady who smells like cat piss that lives in your neighborhood.
So Dad's comments like, well, she looks so much better than the raccoon eyes she normally has.
Yes.
And I appreciate the fact that her hair didn't look like 15 blind people just started braiding it in every direction possible. So
okay, moving on to the match. The match sucked. It served absolutely no point at all whatsoever. I was very impressed. So the thing is that she gets her arm tied behind her back.
Was it ever behind her back?
Kind of.
It was here.
Well, she just had to have one arm tied down, right? And then at the start of the match, Sonya Deville reveals that actually she is 1,000% heel and evil, and the whole point was Ronda had to have her arm tied behind her back because Sonya's arm was injured from the arm bar. So Sonya peels off the cast, the what is that called? The sling. She peels off the sling to reveal that no, her arm is actually fine after Ronda's already got her arm tied down, and that's the big switch thing, right?
But if you're gonna
so she's a heel completely.
If you're tie your arm back, it's supposed to be back behind like this, not beside.
I don't care where the arm is at. She had a cool spot with her where she ran up off of her knee and kneed her in the head, which was really cool because you have to remember that this is a legit mixed martial artist and this is a legit former mixed martial artist. They knew what the fuck they were doing. This and this did not work. This and this did not work. This does not work. And at the end of the match, when she's killing her, she realized, fuck it. I'm supposed to wrestle her at WrestleMania anyway. This show means absolutely nothing because it has no value or care to me whatsoever. She just let her get her ass beat and walked off. What is going on here?
She's trying to get fired. It's what I think. 1.5.
1. This is a 1-star match. Sorry, girls.
You know what?
You worked hard.
1 is right.
You worked.
You've convinced me.
I'm sorry. I know that sounds bad to give you a 1, but this match had no personality. It had no character. After the first minute reveal of all the impartial authority backstage figure, when she peels off her jacket, becomes a performer, and things are legal, but when she has the jacket on, you can't touch her because she's a whatever. And then Adam Pearce and all this other storyline that we've dredged up for weeks, her character is horrible and makes no sense. And her character is getting to be just about as bad as hers because she gets cheered like a babyface because she's over. She starts off like a babyface because she's over. And then she cuts heel promos because she's supposed to be heel, but she wrestles like a babyface and then cheats at the end of the match because she's a heel. Most inconsistent thing on the show is these two people. And because of that inconsistency, it's a 1. And you ladies worked really hard for what you guys were given to do.
So we can't talk about this without talking about this.
Okay, so I don't care about this match. Didn't care about anything at all like this. Apparently, Drew decided because his neck hurts that everyone else needs to hurt too. And truthfully, it's not Drew's fault. Madcap fucked this up.
Yes.
Madcap fucked this up because what you have to do is there are times. So in a move, okay, there are times when you help someone with leverage or you give them your body weight, okay, and you have to let them carry it. All right. For example, a power bomb. When someone goes to lift you up for a power bomb, and I used to have a bad habit of this, of just letting the guy be. I used to make the guy pick me up, right?
No, you jump up.
You give him a little boost to help you, but it also helps get your rotation up in your core so you pull yourself up in case the other guy does fuck up and drops you right on your head. By the way, this happened to me, and I thought the guy broke my fucking neck, right? So he has him in the reverse Alabama slam, okay? And he flips Madcap over. And Madcap, instead of letting him give him his weight and take flat bump out, decides to rotate in as Drew's flipping him to help him get over, and he comes right down on his skull. I thought he was dead. And he immediately went, oh fuck. The referee went, oh fuck.
Sheamus went, gonna cover.
Well, no, Corbin. Baron Corbin.
That's right, yeah, Corbin.
He gets hit. Luckily, they have enough presence of mind to pause for a second. He gets out of the ring, and he basically tells Corbin, I'm fucked up, cover for a minute, but I'm okay.
Yeah.
Corbin pantomimes with Drew for a minute, and then Madcap stupidly doesn't take more time down than what he should, and gets back in the match to do stuff, and then he kicks him right in the fucking head again. And I was like, what the fuck, guys?
And then there's more.
And then they have more stuff in the match.
And then Drew brings out the sword.
So, remember how I said I was kind of impressed with this guy and what they were doing and everything going on with Drew? And I was like, the story's pretty bleh, but these two are wrestling a pretty decent match, right?
Madcap's getting over.
Madcap's getting over, which is weird. Drew picks up a sword. And Corbin runs into the ring. And I am not making this up. Drew swings the sword at Corbin's head.
Yep.
And Corbin has to duck under the sword and roll out of the ring to get away from it. So, in the country of Saudi, Drew McIntyre attempted to behead a man. I assume because it's legal there.
Because that's what they do. And
then Drew
holds the sword in his hand.
Holds the sword. I apologize. It's in his left hand. Drew holds the sword in his hand, and for some stupid reason, decides to do the Claymore
while holding the
sword to Madcap. Guys, no. No. I am not even going to talk about the real world illusion of the fact that Drew McIntyre just tried to murder Baron Corbin. I'm not going to talk about the fact that he was brandishing a weapon in a match. I have a very long rant that we're going to go into in a few shows where I talk about the legitimacy of weapons being added into matches for the purpose of prop storylines, okay? Because I recently watched a match where somebody pulled a gun out. Okay, now, on a safety level, I don't care how good you are. You do not get a sword, even if it's a fake sword, which it's not. It's just not a sharpened sword. It still has a point on it. You do not try and do a bump in that ring with a spiked fucking object pointing up at someone after you just watched this guy dump himself on his head, okay? Do not do that. Don't ever, 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 ever do that.
I'm giving it a 1.5 just because Corbin was the hero of the match.
This is a 1-star match.
1 star.
And they also had no spots that were really good.
I see a trend. All right.
I felt this match was so long. I felt the matches that went long should not have gone long. One, I realized...
This match was the longest match of the night. It wasn't an elimination.
So, Yes, you are correct. I really, truly felt like, I mean, the times of these are pretty, but I felt like Roman and Goldberg was 6 minutes. It was 5 minutes and 30 seconds too long. Okay. Naomi and Rousey was 9 minutes and 15. I thought that was
8.5 minutes too long.
8 minutes too long, right? Drew and Madcap was 9 and 7. I thought that was 5 minutes too long. Becky Lynch and Lita was 12-14. And I felt that should have been... And I know we give them shit every week on Raw for like 2-minute matches, but I felt like all these matches that went long, that felt long. They felt long is what I'm getting at. They didn't need to be long. And the chamber matches should have been double this time.
This was the only good match on the show for me.
No, this match sucked.
This was the only match that was good in my mind.
Lita looked great, and Becky looked like trash.
Yes. Lita, I believed Lita was good. I thought, again...
I
thought, oh my God, Lita's actually going to win this.
I hoped Lita was going to win because after she literally hadn't won a championship since 2004. I do not believe she had wrestled a single non-Rumble, non-tag individual match on her own in, 15 years?
Right.
Whatever it was. I wanted her to win this match because this girl looked like shit.
Yeah,
she missed stuff.
There's something about her and Charlotte that is just like they've just their heads are too big now.
I don't know. I really don't know what's going on. She missed spots. She screwed up. She didn't look great. She didn't look enthused to be doing what she needs to do. Speaking of Monday night, her character when she came out like some weird heroin whacked out grunge junkie chick from the 90s made no sense at all whatsoever. And the sad thing is in the last 20 seconds she cut a good promo where she said, you know, people remember you for all the great things that you did and the high-flying spots and the trends that you set, but when you step in the ring with me, they're going to remember you with a tear in their eye because I'm going to break your fucking neck again. And she could not execute that at all.
No,
This sucked because that person should have gone over, and I hate to say that the person who was a part-time jobber, welcome back, Nostalgia Pop, should have gone over your main babyface female talent who's a heel.
So, again, I thought this was the best match of the night.
I thought this was a shit match.
So I gave it a 2 because I thought it was the 2. I actually gave it a 2.5.
I'll give it a 1.5 because this girl showed after 20 years she could still go.
And apparently we're running long on time because we're just gonna skip the next match.
Yes, Jimmy and Jey Uso have a no contest with Eric and Ivar because as Eric and Ivar walk to the ring, keep in mind, as we have maybe pointed out to you before, they're in Saudi Arabia. All right? And the Viking Raiders come out, and legit, they have a camera pointed in the crowd, and there is 25 Saudis going, raid, raid, raid. And I went, holy shit. I was like, that is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then you know what happens? The Usos run out and they beat the crap out of them, and then they take him and do a double suplex on top of him, and the match gets thrown out because these guys can't continue even though the fact they were standing at the end of the spot. If that's what the case was going to be, they needed to be stretchered out of the fucking building. I don't know what happened, other than the fact that I assume that they had just dyed his hair that day, and you could see the red from his hair bleeding into his shirt. Was he pulled a prima donna move and was like, my hair's not ready, I can't wrestle tonight.
That's a better reason than what happened.
Fucking waste of time, other than the fact that they went, holy shit, we have nothing for these guys to do at WrestleMania. We need to delay this until WrestleMania, or we kill them next week on Friday.
And the other sad part is, this was the first match announced. This was like the only match we knew was going to happen.
This is a fucking waste of time, and it made no sense. And honestly, if I was the Saudis, I would have went and gotten Drew's head and beheaded somebody in the back.
You mean Drew's sword?
Drew's sword and beheaded, not Drew's beheaded and beheaded and beheaded.
All right.
He tried to behead a man. Okay, so I want to go through the match before we talk about the aftermath and the aftermath of the aftermath, okay? Let's start off with the fact of this could have been good.
This could have been amazing.
And one of the things that I had to laugh at was, again, we're in Saudi Arabia, and they know this guy. Not just these two, but they knew this guy. I could see them knowing this guy. They knew that guy. Kind of. It's crazy, right? And I said, I feel so sorry for Riddle being barefoot because he's going to tear his feet up in that Elimination Chamber thing. And then I remembered that they put pads now on the outside for everything. No, do that, because the first one that they did where they didn't do that and the chamber was a legit chamber.
Yeah, I remember.
The guys got they got their arms and shoulders torn off and shit, and they got their knees ripped up from it. You could literally see, what was it? So I know a lot of people got hurt in the first one, and I know Rob Van Dam hit the top of the cage doing the 5-star and landed on Triple H's neck and almost killed him. And then was it Jericho got speared through? Was that the same one that Jericho got speared through the outside booth and got cut? And then also, I think it was was it Hunter or somebody else who got flipped onto the back of the rivet where the steel cage is at, and he got his shoulder torn open? So yeah, bad idea. Except for the fact of, they did the padding everywhere, except the pods where the guys stand. And Riddle took his shoes off and was standing on top of the metal grating in his pod. And I imagine the first thought that went through his head was, why did I take my shoes off?
So, just a couple things before we get into the match.
Second verse, same as the first.
So, the coolest part of this is, if you want to go back and remember asshole Brock said, we will never work together. And he immediately tweeted after the match, hey Brock, bro, never say never, right?
Also, it was very funny when Brock came down and he walked by Riddle, and Riddle was like waving at him, and Brock was just like, ugh.
Yeah, that was another thing. Why did each person walk in front of the pods Now, apparently...
Wait, no. Oh. I will talk about that at the end. I want to save that for our final thing of this, before we talk about what happened to Bobby. We can talk about the match of what led into it, but the whole story of Bobby I want to save for a second.
Okay, so, again...
Because I want people to experience the match.
Again, he comes in last, but then goes into a pod.
Which made no sense, because technically the two people who started in the ring were, I believe, him... Or was it AJ and Seth?
No, it was AJ and Austin.
Was it AJ and Austin?
Yeah.
His character would have destroyed both of those people before he ever got in the pod. That was bad. He should have not... I know he's your marquee name, but he should have been one of the first three, not the last person out. He also didn't win anything like Bianca did to be the last person entered into the pod, which also came into absolutely zero effect whatsoever, except for when I said... Why are they doing the randomization of who's coming out in the pod next and lighting up Bianca's pod when I thought Bianca won something that said she would be the last person in to be released from the pod? And then I thought, no, wait, maybe she was the last person to have to get into the pod, which also made no sense because the other people stood in the ring waiting for Alexa Bliss to come out. Then Corey Graves said, well, we're down to 2 people, and the light thing is going off, and he's like, but remember, Bianca won the qualifying match to be the last person released, and it's so, this person comes up next. And I was like, what was the point?
Delay.
Why? To delay 3 weeks worth of Raw television with qualifying matches that have absolutely no purpose? So, remember your shit.
Please, let's talk about this match. It was shorter than the men, and it was shorter than the women's match.
Real quick, this guy does stuff, whatever. This guy, this is the problem. Okay, this guy picks up this guy. So for those of you who are listening to just the audio format version of this, Seth Rollins picks up Austin Theory and he power bombs him through the cage. Through the pod, the plexiglass of the pod, where Bobby Lashley's at. The plexiglass gives way. Austin Theory lands on top of Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley is hurt. Bobby Lashley is carried out of the ring by many officials to the back, and it is reported that he cannot continue in the Elimination Chamber match. Pause, comma. Why did you have this guy, who has unfortunately hurt people before with the power bomb, be in storyline, cause an injury to somebody else with the power bomb? Okay, now back on track for a second.
No, but
I want to talk about the actual incident for a moment, because when that happened and the way Bobby fell and he was grabbing his arm, right? I went, So I'm going to back up a little bit. I work the late shift now, right? So technically, by the time I was home from work, this was about to start. And I thought about staying up and watching this. And then I decided, no, I want to get some sleep. I'm going to go to bed and I'm going to get up around 2 o'clock or so and we'll watch this, which is what happened, right? And somebody not tweeted because I don't fuck with Twitter, but somebody texted me a picture, Facebook Messenger, that's what it is. And it said it had Bobby being carried out by the refs. And I went, well, I didn't look at the context of the article. I just saw a picture for half a second and I was like, I know my plan is to go watch this, right? And I said, well, either Bobby retained and he was looking like he was selling, or Bobby really got hurt. And I told my wife and everybody involved, I was like, something happened with Bobby tonight, so we have to watch the pay-per-view now before it gets spoiled for me, right? And that happened in the spot where Seth powerbombs him into the chamber and Bobby gets hurt. And I went, oh shit, I think Bobby just broke his arm. And then my wife said there, she was like, well, the glass landed on him. It looked like it was pinching him like on the leg or something. I was like, I don't know. And then when they got him out and they were carrying him out and they were grabbing him by the shoulders and stuff, I was like, well, it can't be his arm. I guess he didn't break his arm. I was like, maybe he blew his ACL out because the way he fell. Because I saw the way he fell and one of his legs buckled and the other one went straight. And I was like, oh shit, I bet he broke his leg or something, right? The reason I'm not paraphrasing, the reason I'm
Cutting me off?
Cutting you off on this is, I want to say this. They had me. I believed it. I 1000% believed, holy shit, Bobby just got hurt. And I was like, I had that flashback in my head of the show we had before the Super Bowl where I said, why do the Elimination Chamber match like this? Somebody's going to get hurt. Somebody who's going to be in your WrestleMania main event is going to get hurt, and this is stupid, and it just happened to Bobby Lashley. This is dumb. They had me. How little I knew. Now.
My turn. My turn. So, this happens as he just described. And my first thought is like, why is he the one that's hurt? He went through the glass. He should be the one that's hurt. He landed on that chunk of a man. Okay, for those that are listening, Austin Theory should be the one who hurt because he went through glass, shattered the glass, and then landed on the brick that is Bobby Lashley. So I'm like, okay. And so Dad goes, well, I know who's winning this match.
Oh, immediately.
Because Bobby's coming back at the end of the match to bring himself back into the match.
I didn't believe that.
It was the opposite of what you were like. Oh, you believed it. I did not. I did not believe it for a second. I'm like, Bobby's coming back. And then, in the middle of the match, we hear, due to concussion protocol.
Now, I wanted to talk to that just for a second because after the match, this is almost immediately after the match, okay? A report comes out from somebody who used to work there. I don't remember who this guy's name is, who now runs a blog or something, right? And he says, I have it on good authority that Bobby Lashley was hurt at the Royal Rumble against Brock, and he hurt his shoulder. And he's going to be out 4 months with shoulder surgery. And that's why Bobby has not defended his belt since he won it, given the fact that it's only been 2 weeks. That's why he has not done anything physical on Raw, is because Bobby's hurt, and that's why he was removed from the match. Okay, now, unconfirmed reports, we don't know if that's true, whatever.
But that report's coming out a lot more now.
This is where they fucked up, in my opinion, because they had me, as I said. Maybe they didn't have you, but they had me, and I thought Bobby got hurt. Okay? Why in the fuck would you say concussion protocol? We live in a world of concussion protocol football and CTE that we know is real. Your fucking company has been sued by wrestlers in the past.
For concussion.
Even the charlatan shitheel lawyer that has tried to spearhead this and sued them for it has sued them. The man's legit hurt with a shoulder injury. Just say Bobby got his shoulder hurt. He is unable to continue. When they said concussion, I went, bullshit.
Yeah.
So mad. And I was fucking offended at the fact that we live in a real world where people who have concussions get fucked up and their careers get ended, and they called it concussion protocol. And I was so mad at that because I was like, well, mate, okay. I was like, maybe they just rushed said concussion protocol on the mic, not realizing the story was going to come out that Bobby's been injured for several weeks now. But I said, okay, maybe they called an audible. They don't know what's wrong with him. Maybe Bobby went in the back and said, hey, my knee blew out. I don't know what's going on. And Vince was like, concussion protocol. He can't come back. And that's what they said on the mic. I said, okay, now we're going to talk about when Brock entered the match. Okay? Because when Brock entered the match, this is what happened. And this is why I thought, holy shit, Bobby really did get hurt in this match. Because he comes out and he destroys Seth Rollins.
Oh, no. So, Bobby's pod glows for entrance.
Oh, no, stop. I'm getting there. Brock comes out and immediately kills everybody. Now, how did Brock get to kill everybody? Because Brock got so angry that Bobby's pod activated that he kicks out the window to get out. And I went, because my wife goes, oh shit, if Bobby's really hurt, if he was supposed to win, how are they going to do this? I was like, well, Vince will get on the microphone and talk to some of the guys on the radio and say, hey, get everybody, let everybody know Bobby's hurt and we're changing the finish. Brock goes over. The guys will figure it out. They're professionals, right? How do we get Brock over? The referee, somebody will do a big dive down bump. Everybody will get wiped out. And the ref will come by and check on everybody and go, Brock goes over. Brock goes over. Brock goes over. Brock, you're going over. Okay, that's how that gets resolved in the ring in that moment fast, right? The reason I wanted to pause this and talk about the fact that Brock then comes out and literally destroys everybody but Austin Theory in 20 seconds because him and Austin Theory have a planned spot was leading me again to believe, holy crap, Bobby's really hurt. And then they cut to the replay at the end of the match and showed the segment where Brock kicks the hole in the pod and gets out. I did not realize it because they shot it perfectly one way. And then they had the camera guy shoot it from behind Brock. When the camera guy shot it from behind Brock, you could see the circle that they had pre-cut out of the plexiglass. The problem was that Brock didn't kick the circle out of the glass for him to step through because it was a perfect cut circle. Brock kicked underneath of where the cut was and had to kick it 4 or 5 times until the piece of glass fell out because he didn't kick it in the right spot. And when they pulled back and showed that camera shot, I went, Bobby's not hurt.
Oh, see,
that was all planned.
I didn't watch the replay.
As soon as they cut to that replay section and showed that perfect circle, I went, you fuckers had me. And you blew it all. You made me angry with concussion protocol. You couldn't say what was wrong. And then it was clear that Brock was supposed to kick a hole out at some point. Or maybe Brock's pod was supposed to malfunction. I was like, you guys had it. And you had to go with concussion protocol. And you had to shoot the wrong side of the ring because you just couldn't help yourself.
I stopped watching replays because they so often you see they film it right 90% of the time.
Because I was in my head, I was like, well, maybe Brock had the circle hole cut out, pre-cut, because they were going to do something for a setup, or maybe MVP like screwed him on the pod or something. I was like, okay. And then I saw the article that said Bobby's been injured and has to have shoulder surgery. And I was like, you guys had a perfect storyline. You guys had a perfect storyline of Bobby got hurt, Bobby's out of the match, Brock wins, everything's cool, but you had to just go 4 steps too far and blow something that was real, and you had to WWE it.
This match did one thing that a WWE match, Elimination Chamber match, had never done before that I thought was interesting, and that was him trying to crawl up the top. I thought that was like, oh, I haven't seen that before.
So we'll pause for a minute. Brock Lesnar kills everybody, and he gets down to Austin Theory. And Austin Theory runs from Brock, and then Brock catches him. Austin Theory nuts him, and then goes to run away. Brock gets angry. Austin fights back for a second. Brock then chases him, and then Austin Theory tries to crawl through the top of the cage because it's big, gigantic, squared-out sections of chain. Brock manages to get up there and catch him, and he proceeds to F5 Austin Theory off the top of the pod. I thought he was going to... At first... And the way Brock looked, I 1,000% thought that Brock was going to throw him into the cage with the F5. Not the cage, into the ring.
Yeah.
And I think Brock...
I thought so too.
I think Brock was going to, and I think Brock was like...
I'm not going to make it.
Either he said, I'm not going to make it, or he said, if this kid's off and lands on the ring post, he's dead.
I also
he threw him to the middle section between the ring and the cage where the new pads are at to protect the guys from. The problem is that, much like in Madcap Moss, Austin Theory chose to not do a flat drop. He chose to fall 15 feet onto his feet.
Now, I think that the cameraman...
missed it. The cameraman missed it the first time, too.
Which is good. I'm going to... we always shit on the cameraman. The cameraman was like, keep the shot up. Like, you didn't see... If he would have landed flat, the cameraman would have missed the shot.
Yeah.
I think they knew that he was going to land feet first. And that's why he's like, keep the shot up. Because Dad's like, he landed straight on his feet. I go, yeah. Because if he wouldn't have, he'd dead. And I think that since Austin Theory, again, speculation, Austin Theory's like, I don't feel comfortable landing flat from that height. If he would have landed in the ring with his feet, the percussion of the bounce
probably
would have broken an ankle.
Yeah, he probably would have been messed up from that. It's crazy to see that we saw an F5 off the top of the pod. And for those of you who have not caught up to where the story's at right now, Brock Lesnar is your new WWE champion.
And he was taking pictures and hugging people on his way back up the ramp.
Brock showed so much personality in this. Chamber goes off the air. Overall, the men's match was a 2.
That's what I gave it.
Just because, one, Austin Theory took a hell of a bump. They got themselves out of a situation that was bad, but they fucked it all up because they used concussion, and then they clearly had to show the pre-cut of Brock having the problem, and then they had to storyline jazz it all up. And what I don't understand is everybody wants everything in wrestling to have an air of reality and be real. And they finally had a moment where something was real on the page. It was 100% real, and they didn't have to storyline it up at all. Bobby was hurt. You could have even come out after the fact and said Bobby got hurt at the Rumble and his shoulder had been re-injured during the bump or something like that.
He could have said that he smashed his shoulder when he hit the pod. You thought it was his arm.
Yeah, they had it. They had a 100% real thing. But they had to storyline it up and make up concussion crap, which is stupid and it's offensive and it's hurtful. And then they had to make sure that they showed Brock kick a hole, a perfect circle, out of the pod instead of keeping it looking like Brock. They could have kept it like Brock thought on his feet and they got to a place of the match finish. No. They couldn't help themselves, and that was the problem.
So now it makes sense when they said after Royal Rumble, they did not have a plan for the championship. Now we know why they didn't have a plan, because they didn't know how to write him off.
Bobby Lashley might be gone for 4 months, including missing WrestleMania.
So now, before we rank the show, they have been conflicting back and forth. They have been saying it one way and saying it the other. Is it unification title for title, or is it just champion versus champion?
Don't know yet. Makes no sense. How can it be champion
they've
versus
said
champion?
both. They have said both.
How can it be? If it's champion versus champion, then winning the Royal Rumble serves absolutely zero purpose.
Because they're talking about
it has to be title for title.
Because they can't unify, but they can't unify the belt. They could at this point because they don't have a roster.
Yeah, they don't have a roster. They've gotten rid of a bunch of people. Roman needs fresh bodies to work with. Having Roman beat Brock at WrestleMania and that solidifies his legacy of being, the 5th time complete WWE whatever champion, right?
So, rank the show.
I gave the matches really, really low ranking, but...
So, I'll remind you of your rankings.
Okay.
Negative 5,000. So, real matches. 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 5, 2.
This was a 2 show.
Wow, you're generous. I gave it a 1.5. This has been the second worst Elimination Chamber.
Yes. The overall thing was bad, but as I said, this did not offend me as bad as the last Saudi show, and it didn't offend me as bad as the Royal Rumble did. It just was a pretty bland, basic show, and I was more impressed with what they were able to do, what they were able to get away with. I was more impressed with the crowd. I was more impressed with the presentation of how the crowd looked and the fact that the crowd seemed to be really behind everything. I really enjoyed that. The other thing that I want to talk about with this show before we close out, and this will be part of the final thought, okay? Someone who used to work there is a huge pool of people. Yes, that's true. At this point, it is a huge pool of people who used to work at the WWE. The Rumble had a very positive thing, where aside from 2 vignettes, that was it. Mm-hmm. There was literally a VTR for every fucking match that took place on this Saudi show, which is why the matches were short. This show was produced like a Raw, where it had to constantly remind people what the storylines were, where everybody was going. The Undertaker got a 6-7 minute long video package career retrospective about the announcement of him going into the Hall of Fame, which we'll talk a little bit more about next week.
That's where the USO match went.
Yeah, that's where the USO match went, was so that way they could have a video package for them, okay? This was so bad. Okay. There were so many video packages, it took up at least half of the show. It took up an hour. I guarantee you there was would you say there was almost 40 minutes of video packages?
Oh, at least. I got through the 2-hour, 45-minute show in 2 hours because I was fast-forwarding through stuff, so yeah.
The video packages were so bad in this, and it needs to stop. You need to stop treating the audience as if they don't know what's happening. You need to have 20, 30-second refreshers at most. You do not need to have 2.5, 3, 4, 5.5 minute recaps of everything that's happened on the shows for every match leading up to the match. Because
if you don't know how to do that, watch AEW because they do it.
Because we have 2 minutes of recap, and then we have 5 minutes of entrances. So before we get to the match, we've had, and I understand for the Chamber, you have to have at least 2 of these because the Chamber has to come up and come down.
Yeah.
At most, you have to have 4 of these, okay? Because the Chamber has to come down, and then it has to go back up, and then it has to come down and go back up. Okay, I get that, all right? Hell in a Cell, I get it. But every match had to have a retrospective recap. And that killed the show for me so much.
Because
your audience knows what's happening. Because you're not gaining any new people. You're losing people.
And
keep the action moving forward.
And you forgot one key part of this. So we watch a 5-minute vignette.
Yeah.
We get an introduction. Mm-hmm. Then we start the match. And what do the announcers talk about for the whole match?
Every single thing that's happened leading up to the point of the match. And then occasionally...
Remember that this is happening because...
Remember what I said. I figured it out when Michael Cole was talking when he moved to SmackDown was Cole has to constantly, every 30 seconds, remind the audience what they're watching and why they're watching it. He has to remind them why. He has to remind them that Jay and Jimmy Uso are part of Roman's bloodline. He has to remind the audience who the characters are because Vince, for some reason, is still stuck in people doing this. There you go. People doing this and going, oh, what's that?
Yep.
Oh, you just explained the entire history of this character to me in 30 seconds. Great, thanks for doing that. No, people are not doing that anymore. People know what they're watching. They know what they're going to watch because there's 40,000 billion TV stations in the world that are all on streaming and stuff.
And then you have people like my father-in-law who just fast forward your vignettes.
Yeah.
And is happy that he can watch a 2-hour show in 45 minutes.
Your great production facility and your great production people and your great editing staff and team and crew are amazing. You have one of the best looking presentations of wrestling.
People aren't watching it.
And you have since the 80s. Vince, for all his faults, has always presented a spectacular visual presentation of a wrestling show, okay? Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Those guys know how to shoot their show. Do they miss some stuff? Yes, but they know how that show should look and where the camera should be and how they should throw to this guy in the back or cut to this thing or do that, right? They are being wasted producing video packages for the recap of the history of Madcap Moss versus Drew McIntyre that lasted at least 2 minutes and 20 seconds. Get it out of there.
I agree.
Tighter show. Tighten your show up. Raw is 3 hours. It doesn't have to be. It could be, but it doesn't have to be because you don't have to do all of this crap. Tighten it up.
All right, so great final thought. Next week we're going to talk about rate. We're going to do the ratings. How did it fare versus the Olympics? We're going to talk about. We said we're going to talk about the Undertaker being in the Hall of Fame, and we're going to talk about
Brock and Pat
McAfee.
Yeah,
and how Pat McAfee is a. We just need to keep Pat McAfee because he's the only really good thing in WWE right now. All right, so for Powerbomb Weekly, I am Joey and don't have a fan club. This is Mike, and apparently he'll send you his dirty briefs if you give him money.
I will even wear some wonderful panties if you choose to spring for them, and I will soil them lovely for you so that way you can get home and sniff the essence of the wonderful, great Michael Burdett.
For Michael Burdett,
I will
believes
autograph them.
Michael Burdett believes $20 is $20.
$20 is $20.
You guys have a great night. Thanks for watching us.